Focus, she shine into you.
Don't you waste another tear. Don't just stand and run away from life. All that you can hear is shouting. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising. Horizon up. It's time for rising. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. Rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising. Horizon up. Horizon up. Don't you waste another tear. Don't just stand and run away from life. All that you can hear is shouting. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising up. It's time for rising.
like Superman.
This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now. This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now.
It is time to challenge the world as we continue our journey for SWC 2021. Trevor here, joined by Peter. And after a month of APAC preliminaries, we're now in the final week with Group D.
Final week, and we are so excited today to be looking at what type of meta these players will bring us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every week we've been blessed with kind of a new meta, a lot of diversity, and of course, even within each weekend, players adapting as they go through the bracket. Of course, it's double elim. We have many chances for these players to try to adapt. We do have to remind everyone that we are continuing with online play due to COVID-19, so precautions are in place both for health and also fair and sportsmanlike play. So no worries about that. Unfortunately, the players won't be here in the studio with us, but they've been giving us one hell of a match so far. I mean, throughout the entire preliminaries, Peter.
Throughout the entire preliminaries, we've had so many different type of comps. Some players heavily preferring the Ganny Oki combo, while others showing that you can actually get through the CC with raw damage, like Frank, for instance.
Yeah, we've seen Frank, I mean, really kind of prove that to a T, right? He just completely shut down the comp, just ruining everything, not giving a chance to even take a turn. So we've seen some of the variants. I mean, we've seen also kind of different monsters taking different precedents. Sometimes we've seen the various occult girls playing a huge role. I mean, we've seen the reuse. I mean, we saw some more fire reuse last week. So we're seeing a lot of that. But of course, the kind of common ones like the Slayers, right? Like the M. Bison, the Ganny, those are still continuing to show up as well.
Right, that is absolutely one of the most exciting things about this year, 2021's SWC, because surprisingly, the Fire Bison, I have pulled him, but I never actually built him. Because I didn't think that I want to be investing my Devilmons, but you look at him in the meta and he's just popping off, man.
Yeah, he has been very, very crucial. We'll get more stats on that later, I'm sure. But ladies and gentlemen, we are on the road to the World Finals for SWC 2021. Of course, we're going through all the preliminaries that lead into each regional cup, and then the World Finals later in the year.
Right, we have 2 players from the America's Cup, 2 players from Europe, 3 players from Asia, and players basically from all over the world.
Yeah, so we're on the path right now, APAC preliminaries. This is for the cup itself, right? And then from there, those 3 players will move on to the World Finals from the APAC region. We are now in Group D. Of course, these matches are double elimination as well, Peter.
Double elimination, of course. There's going to be a lot of pressure on these players today.
Yeah, they have to make sure that they get through, and not only just a bunch of matches, but if you haven't been keeping up, all the final matches for the qualifying match, right? The winners bracket finals and the losers bracket finals will be best of 5 as well. So you go through a couple best of 3s, but then you have to be prepared to kind of run the gauntlet and have that depth in your monster box, in your strategy, to go through with a best of 5 in order to secure a spot in the APAC Cup.
Best of 5 always pushes a player to their max to show their finesse with some of these team comps coming out.
And I think you mentioned Frank from last week. He proved it very well. And then Mr. Chung as well, right? He got knocked down in the winners finals by Frank, but he was able to take that second seed in the losers bracket finals, of course. Earlier in the month, or rather in July, we had Second Baby and Jeff from Group A, Diligent and Hong KFC from Group B as well. And now here are your 8 players for the day vying for 2 spots to the APAC Cup.
2 spots. There's not too many spots given the amount of players we do have. And of course, Group D is going to be a surprising region in the sense that most of these players are coming into the SWC as their first qualification.
Yeah, it's 7 out of 8 players, in fact. So even if you've been keeping up with SWC across the years, MATSU the only familiar name. Everyone else, this is their first entry towards the SWC. So, I mean, some of them might bring up stuff that we just haven't seen at all during the preliminaries so far, right? Maybe their monster box is just different, or maybe they've been kind of working on a different meta on their own. We'll have to wait and see, Peter.
I don't know about you, Chobra, but I especially love that we are having all these new players coming in, trying to prove themselves, because that does mean that we'll get to see a bunch of scenarios that we have never seen before. Like, for instance, Waterhowl has been the highest pick rate, and I don't believe that will change, but there could be a new pair with Lulu.
That is true. I mean, Lulu kind of seen through and through, either being picked on one side or pre-banned, worst case scenario. Of course, now and then being banned after the draft as well, but we'll find out as we are ready to jump into our first match of the day. This is the quarterfinals. It is double elim, so you're not eliminated just yet, but our first player will be MATSU, the one returning player here in Group D.
MATSU is posing there like a champion. You check out his career. He's been here for the SWC from 2018 till 2020. And some of the monsters that he does like to utilize include the Yeonhong. So I am very excited to see how he utilizes that powerful monster.
Yeah, the Yeonhong we saw, I believe, briefly in Group A, maybe a little bit in Group B, but not so much since then. So we'll see how it makes a return here for MATSU. Of course, 4 years in the running here for SWC. The first year in 2018, he was able to make a deep run, tying for 3rd place, but hasn't been able to go to the World Finals since. He's now trying to make another run for it, but his first opponent is SHAJA, a new challenger, and look at his biceps. He says he's into fitness these days, and he's proven it for sure.
Definitely, this guy's been working out at the gym, not only in Summoner's War. And SHAJA, you mentioned to me earlier, Chobra, that he was surprised to actually even qualify for the SWC. So there's a lot on the line for him, when especially he's going up against a proven challenger in MATSU.
Yeah, I mean, SHAJA in his pre-interview, he said more or less that he doesn't think that he really has the monster box or the skill to really have qualified. He was a bit surprised himself, so he kind of feels that he's the underdog here coming into Group D. But then again, I mean, 7 new challengers, anything can happen. So let's get in to the first match of Group D in the APAC preliminaries for SWC 2021. It is a best of 3 for now, and even if you lose, you are not eliminated. You have a second chance tomorrow.
This match is going to open up the first match of Group D, and it's going to set the tone for a lot of these upcoming matches, the meta that we get to see. Of course, even the pre-bans are a bit different today. We see the Escher pre-ban coming out along with Yeonhong.
Yeah, seems like more targeted pre-bans than what we've seen in the past. I mean, we've seen, of course, a very, very common pre-bans like the Gianna in these other groups, but the Escher and then the Yeonhong. Of course, we have MATSU on the left side, SHAJA on the right, and SHAJA kicks things off with the Mo Long, and we are just quick firing through the draft so far.
Already seeing that variance in meta. Of course, Molon coming out means there will be a lot of damage coming out of SHAJA. As we see some of the Fran's win rate, it has gone up thanks to Group C. Fran has shown a stellar performance there. And now the question is, how will it do in Group D?
Yeah, the Fran always kind of used to be kind of that secondary pick with the buffs after the Lulu was taken away. In Group C, as you mentioned, it was more proactive. And here we go. SHAJA really seemed to favor the Vanessa, and he's not going to shy away from it. Picks her up, and then, of course, we have the Daphnis as well. So lots of damage being piled on right now on SHAJA's side.
Right, so we are seeing that synergy with the Molong from Daphnis. And of course, Vanessa, you mentioned to me earlier, Chobra, that Group D does seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on that Vanessa, which I am excited to see today. Vanessa does tend to be a very passive unit. It is not easy to make use of, unlike Barbara, such an aggressive unit, sitting on that 75% win rate we have seen from last week in Group C. If she gets the procs in turn 1, 2 units might go down.
Yeah, she is very powerful. I mean, only picked 4 times, but you can tell that she was picked at the right times with that high win rate. So we'll see how it goes. Continuing the damage trend here for SHAJA, going for Kaki the Fire on Emusha, as well as the Wind Heart Magician to round out the draft for SHAJA.
Right, so Vanessa Triana is a old but proven combo. Both units have a protection ability within their passives. Vanessa can revive, Triana can offset the damage that would kill an ally. So SHAJA definitely putting emphasis on trying to protect against the Barbara. So MATSU says, instead of piling damage, I am going to bring in that trusty CC.
Yep, going for the Cardinal. Of course, we talked about the M Bison interchangeable with the Cardinal earlier. Just how reliable it has been so far in the APAC preliminaries here for SWC 2021. Now waiting for the bans on both sides. 5 seconds left on the clock.
One very interesting thing to note is that Vertihal has been picked pretty early by MATSU. So if you're SHAJA, you definitely gotta either have a very good game plan around Vertihal, such as one-shotting it, putting a lot of emphasis on killing Vertihal on turn 1, and that is what SHAJA is seeming to do.
Okay, so leaves the Vertihal open. We'll see if he's able to accomplish that mission. This is game number 1 in a best of 3 between SHAJA and MATSU in the quarterfinals here in Group D.
Very fast Barbara. She will be able to grab some of the attack bar for MATSU. Also looking for the strip to set up for the Sierra. There's the strip, and there's the Vertihal follow-up. So now we are keeping our eyes locked down on Sierra, but at the same time, there's a Triana on the side of SHAJA, so the bomb will not be able to get the killing blow. If you're MATSU, you have to aim for a cheese using multi-hits.
Yeah, gotta go for that extra hit to secure that kill, kind of avoid that offset, so we'll see what he can do. Now looking for the bomb, it does go on to Daphnis.
He should be going for skill 1 here to try to kill through the Triana. Using the skill 3 to detonate will only get the passive out of Triana, but MATSU goes for the safe play.
Yep, just goes for the detonate, gets the stun as well. Here comes a little bit of a heal coming out from Triana. Now looking at Mo Long.
Now we have SHAJA grabbing a turn, and it is going to hurt big time because we have 3 units with great damage. Reckless Assault, follow up by the Dragon's Dance. There's the stun, and Kaki is now looking for the Blaze Slaughter, and look at the damage.
Oh my gosh, massive damage. Mo Long sets it up, and then Kaki able to just swipe across the board. Finishes the job against Vertihal, and 3 monsters now brought down to half health as well. Fran will be getting that heal and sustain the protection for the side of MATSU.
The problem seems to be that Sierra's now a turn away from the bomb. No longer. She's going to just be able to place it right onto Kaki. And the second Kaki goes down, SHAJA might be in for some trouble. Triana unable to grab the additional turn, so she is away from her passive, her healing.
Okay,
oh!
Oh my goodness, this Sierra is just on fire right now. Is able to have another turn, can look for another bomb. A second bomb onto Kaki, and there goes the detonate.
Very much damage from Sierra.
That is huge, and that is all but over there. I mean, Kaki gets wiped out, and then the Mo Long instantly afterwards as well. The Sierra, I mean, single-handedly securing the win here. You already mentioned, Peter, that things were looking a little dicey for SHAJA, but MATSU Sierra said she did not want to wait for that one, and there's the win for MATSU in game number 1.
MATSU kicking off with a beautiful victory. Showed us that you do not need to be scared of Mo Long and Daphnis if you can just survive the next turn and strike back harder.
Yep, MATSU definitely going for that strike back. Gets kind of the second hit, but stronger, is able to eliminate the monsters just a step ahead, and he is now leading 1-0 in this best of 3. Again, it is double elimination, so SHAJA, even if you are to lose this next game, you are not out of the preliminaries. He will have a second chance tomorrow, but of course, you have a big advantage staying alive in the winner's bracket. Today, MATSU now on match point.
MATSU, I love how he played out the first match between this matchup against SHAJA, because he played it out so patiently, saving the Fran skill 3 for turn 2, and also making sure to land double bomb on Kaki, taking no risks, making sure that his only win condition is gone, and I just can't wait to see what he will bring us in the second round.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned it. Even during that game, a couple times there, MATSU just playing a little bit safer, right? Making sure he doesn't take any unnecessary risks. And it seems like he's going to continue that. He just eliminates the Vanessa, knows that that's a core part of SHAJA's monster box, and pre-bans that out. The Barbara being banned out, pre-banned rather, by SHAJA this time around.
Interestingly enough, we do see Mo Long and Kaki returning for SHAJA despite the poor performance last game. However, if he just takes out the Daphnis, it could end up being that he has a better team comp synergy overall. So, of course, MATSU now, he's not too phased by his opponent's strategy, still sticking to that trusty old Fran.
Yeah, nothing different yet. So MATSU Oh, he is going to pick up that Yeonhong. Of course, it was pre-banned in Game 1. We saw that it was a very highly favored monster for MATSU as well. So he's going to secure that Mon right away.
Yeonhong, this is a unit that takes a lot of calculation to use. You have to be very smart with her skills, the cooldowns. And of course, now we see the response out of SHAJA. Once again, returning to the Daphnis. The only difference is, instead of having Vanessa Triana there for protection, he's bringing in the Escher, and the last pick can be another offensive pick, giving him more damage than that first round.
Yeah, so we have both players kind of securing their pre-bans from the first game. The Escher now going over to SHAJA. Looks like we might have the Water Marshal Cat come out for MATSU. We saw it last week, and there it is. It's secured alongside the Cardinal here for MATSU on the left side. SHAJA now waiting for his last pick.
We have seen a very strong showing out of Mina last week, especially from G. Diego. He's been a lover of that unit, and so am I. So I'm very excited to see how MATSU handles Mina. It is going to be a very strong threat, especially into Daphnis and Kaki.
Okay, SHAJA, lots of consideration here. Only 3 seconds left on the clock, and he's going to go for the Vigor. Okay, so double werewolves here for SHAJA. How do you feel about that one, Peter? That's why I asked, because I could tell the hesitation a little bit.
So Vigor is a unit that has seen so much spotlight last year in SWC, but ever since, he does seem to have fallen a lot more out of the meta. So this is going to be the first instance where we have seen the Vigor pick in SWC 2021 APAC preliminaries. SHAJA basically definitely has to prove himself now and show me why he's brought this pick back.
Okay, well, we'll see. Can he do it? The Escher gets banned out, and then the Mina as well, so we're not going to see that Marshall Cat pop off for MATSU, but MATSU already on match point in this best of 3, kicks things off with his Yeonhong.
We got a strong setup for the Sierra, given Yeonhong land the strip. It is very crucial that Yeonhong gets a job done, which she does. So now, there's the blessing, there's the attack buff, the setup for Sierra is here, there's the bomb, and that is Daphnis gone.
Yeah, that is just smooth sailing for MATSU. Gets everything he needs to from the strip through the bomb, and Daphnis gets eliminated immediately. Already a 4v3 in favor of MATSU.
Now, the question is, the Reckless Assault comes out of Molong, and SHAJA is about to take a turn on all his units. So, Kaki, can you get the finishing blow on to Sierra, and that will get the job done?
Yeah, Kaki now has another chance, get some damage down onto the Fran as well, so is able to even things out, and with the Sierra gone, a big threat eliminated from the side of MATSU.
Now, it is going to be much tougher to take out the Kaki, given that the bombs are no longer around for MATSU. The only thing in consideration is the CC from the Cardinal, but we see the Molong with a huge strip and stun.
Yeah, that is massive. The Cardinal had such a big roll left for MATSU, and he's not going to get a chance to do it. The stun goes through, and he has to wait for yet another turn.
But if you are a Yeonhong user, you do have the Charge Vitality, instantly giving a turn to the Cardinal. So now you have a chance for Sword Rain.
This
could be big.
Oh, okay. So he gets double stun and a little bit of damage across the board as well. The Kaki being locked down, quite huge. The Molong still free to move when his turn comes by, but that's a lot of damage coming out from Yeonhong.
That was big indeed, especially because he locked down Vigor as well. Vigor was supposed to be the battery for SHAJA, providing the heal, providing the speed buff, but now, without that, SHAJA is a lot more exposed. MATSU looking to rotate turns on SHAJA. There's a Sword of Gluttony. Bam, bam, bam! And look at the attack bar!
Oh my gosh, and the Cardinal goes for another attack as well. The Kaki finally gets eliminated. One threat down, now 2 monsters left on the side of SHAJA.
SHAJA not looking so good right now. We see the Cardinal!
Oh my gosh, the Cardinal, what are you doing? He is just dominating the battlefield turn after turn after turn, secures so many more for himself, and that is just Vigor left. And Peter, you said that SHAJA needed to prove himself, but it's not looking like it's going to happen right now.
The Vigor pick, we questioned it, and we wanted to see some performance, but we are not seeing a spectacular performance out of the Werewolf, standing there all alone now, trying to 1v3, but you know it, I know it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, this is over, Peter, and there you go. There's the GG out. and MATSU will take a quick 2-0 victory. The one returning player here in Group D will be continuing on in the winner's bracket in Group D of the APAC preliminaries for SWC 2021.
MATSU, this guy is a player that has had most expectations on his shoulders, and he has proven himself in the first match of Group D today. What a showing, unfazed by the bigger pick.
Yeah, unfazed by some of these kind of curveballs coming out from SHAJA. And SHAJA, I mean, we mentioned it even in the pre-interview. He mentioned that he felt his monster boss was a little weaker. Maybe his skill set was a little weaker as well. And while he tried with what he had, it did not work out in his opening match in the quarterfinals here of Group D. So he will be moving down to the losers bracket tomorrow. But let's take a look at some of these highlights, Peter.
The highlight for game one was when we saw SHAJA grabbing the turn. It looked like things could get scared for MATSU, but it turns out Fran was there with the follow-up heal, Sierra was there for the bombs, and SHAJA was left without any form of a carry once Kaki went down.
Yeah, only the Triana left alone. And this time, I mean, we saw SHAJA sure lost after this. He strikes back against the Sierra, but at the end of the day, the Cardinal steals the show here.
Yep, when we saw Kaki securing the kill, we thought that SHAJA had a good shot in this match, but of course, we are seeing that highlight on Cardinal, constantly providing so much control with Sword Rain, and that's how MATSU was able to lock down the 2-0 victory over SHAJA.
Yep, MATSU 2-0 moves on in the winner's bracket, so we'll be seeing him once again later today as he continues his journey to see if he can secure that first seed into the APAC Cup here from Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
Of course, if you are a fan of SHAJA, he does have another shot tomorrow in the losers matchup. So don't worry, guys. We have so much Summoners War prepared for you guys this weekend.
Yeah, of course, no one gets eliminated today, right? Everyone still has a second chance tomorrow, but if you can secure that first spot going into the APAC Cup, of course you move on in that first spot, but also you get to rest after today, right? You're secured. You don't have to worry about anything tomorrow. You don't have to prep for new players, new matchups, so that is a huge boon. So all these players, of course, will be giving it their all, I'm sure, as they try to move on in the winner's bracket. But, I mean, MATSU, I think, also kind of a big relief for him, right? He's the only returning player, and if he gets knocked down in round one, I mean, that's a lot of pressure, but he's able to move on for now.
Right. We love underdogs, but of course the players who have been here as veterans do need to constantly prove themselves. That is what MATSU has done exactly. I want to point out that in the match we had so far, the Fran was providing so much utility with the attack buff, right? In the previous groups, we have seen a lot of players utilizing Lulu, but one main upside to Fran is that she's got the attack buff, and we just saw so much synergy within that buff, especially with Barbara and Sierra.
Yeah, it's cool to see that shift. It kind of started coming out last week, and now we just saw it as well, where it's much more proactive, kind of preemptive, right? Going for the extra damage off of the attack buff rather than only using a monster as pure sustain and heal. So we'll see if that continues throughout Group D or if we're going to see a little variance. I mean, Lulu, it's hard to ignore that monster, right? I mean, so much sustain, so much value provided, able to turn things around, even if things get a little dicey. But maybe a little bit more Fran, maybe some of these other monsters, like you mentioned, that are really just focused on the damage.
Right, and now I want to touch up a little bit on pre-bans as well. So we do have some stats, and we can see that up till today, Gianna has been pre-banned a total of 38 times over Ragdoll, which is almost like 2 times the amount because Ragdoll has been pre-banned 20 times, while Gianna 38 times.
38 times here in the APAC preliminaries alone. So Gianna, a very, very big focus so far for the APAC preliminaries from Group A. 38 over 20. I mean, when we started Group A, we were talking about Ragdoll all the time. We were talking about Ragdoll being banned, Ragdoll being picked. It was all focused on Ragdoll. And then Gianna just really blew up in terms of this priority for pre-bans.
Right, but so far today, we haven't had any Gianna pre-ban between MATSU and SHAJA. So the question is, how many Gianna users will there be in Group D? Will we continue to see these target pre-bans like the SWC you mentioned, Chobra?
Yeah, I mean, I think within the group, obviously, you kind of come prepared. But now I'm starting to wonder, I mean, how do things look down the road right at the APAC Cup? But of course, we'll have to wait for that. We still have to secure 2 spots here from Group D of the APAC preliminaries. Moving on, it's going to be the second quarterfinal here in the winner's bracket of Group D of the APAC preliminaries. First up, it's ETOWARU, another new challenger showing up here.
ETOWARU, you have mentioned to me, Chobra, that he is a very valiant user of that Jaeger, bringing it into most of his fights. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Bruiser synergy, especially with the Kinky.
listen, ETOWARU is not just an avid user of the Jaeger. ETOWARU is just a pure fan of Jaeger, because in his interview, in the last question, we kind of let the players say a comment, whatever they wish about SWC or the game, and he says, please make an action figure of Jaeger. So just absolutely loves Jaeger through and through. We'll see if Jaeger is able to return that favor here today in the preliminaries as he goes up against IYAKICHI Baba. I mean, these are all new challengers after MATSU, so that's no news here, but another user of Vanessa.
I love the comp that IYAKICHI Baba is using. When you see that Feng Yin, you can't help but wonder, especially, paired with the pattern, am I going to be getting the opportunity to give some hype to the Chop Chops?
All right, the Chop Chops, we all love to see it. IYAKICHI Baba, can you make it happen? We'll see if that comp comes through as we see it being one of his most used compositions so far this season. This is the second quarterfinals in Group D of the APAC preliminaries in SWC 2021. A best of 3 between these two players, and one player will move on to the winner's bracket. One player will move down to the loser's bracket tomorrow.
Of course, in order to figure that out, first we need to see the matchup between ETOWARU and IYAKICHI Baba. Of course, it is ETOWARU on the left, IYAKICHI Baba on the right. The pre-bans are going to be Jaeger and Patter.
Okay, so another set of kind of these targeted pre-bans, it looks like. Very well aware of what each other wants to bring, what you favor. And we see the Sierra, always reliable, being that first pick here for IYAKICHI.
We are seeing a lot of emphasis on Sierra first pick today. It has been here, and I believe we're going to continue to see it. Of course, the win rate, however, it's a little bit dicey.
Yeah, 28 wins and 31 losses, so right under 50%. I mean, considering how often we see her, maybe not as high as you'd expect, but it's still going to get picked. And then the Molong and the Kaki return, this time for ETOWARU in the second match.
I am getting a sense of deja vu right now. I love that Group D is putting a lot of strength into damage within their team comps. Molong and Kaki is a fantastic way to bring in some of that really strong turn 2 nuke.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it happen even though SHAJA lost. We've seen how quickly these two monsters can deal damage. Now, there's the Lulu returning. Finally, we're kind of back to the normal state of SWC 2021. IYAKICHI picks up that Lulu. And then the Barbara now on the side of IYAKICHI Baba as well.
You know what, Chobra? I'm actually not a big fan of the choice of reverting back to the classic SWC here, because I think that Fran actually would have had a much better synergy with Sierra and Barbara, especially after MATSU showed us how strong that attack buff can be. So now we see ETOWARU responding back with a bit more of a defensive lineup within Diana and Molly.
Yep, Diana and Molly. We've seen both of these monsters used quite frequently, rather. Of course, Diana, very, very useful in multiple ways, both defensive and offensive. There's that Fire M Bison we talked about at the beginning of the show, Peter. We've seen it do a lot of damage, and that's going to be the full draft now for IYAKICHI, waiting for ETOWARU's last pick.
So what is very interesting about IYAKICHI's lineup is that we see the Icarus, but there's no Molong, there's no Daphnis, so IYAKICHI's going to have to rely on pure raw damage as the follow-up for Icarus. Of course, we have Fire Bison for CC in case your plan of damage doesn't work out. If you're ETOWARU, you were previously relying a lot on the Diana. That is one of the biggest super carry of the team, and we see Triana as a finish-up, so ETOWARU feels pretty comfortable with his lineup so far.
Okay, the Triana to round things out, of course. How do things change with the bans? I mean, you mentioned on the side of IYAKICHI, I mean, you're kind of just relying on pure raw damage. The Icarus not able to really combo with another monster reliably. The Barber going to be banned out against IYAKICHI, and then the Diana gets banned out against ETOWARU.
So I feel like this Triana is going to be grabbing a lot of value against the Icarus, forcing IYAKICHI to potentially use skill 3 of Icarus onto Triana rather than Kaki. So of course we do have to see how exactly will IYAKICHI play around the Triana. Will he just go for Kaki and go for the multi-hits?
Okay, well, this is game 1 in this best of 3 quarterfinals here between these two players in Group D of the APAC preliminaries. ETOWARU on the bottom side will kick things off.
We see now the turn coming to Icarus, but we mentioned that if you go for the Kaki, you have to go for multi-hits. I am seeing a potential angle though. There is a setup. Lulu needs to not hit Kaki, and no!
Oh, needed that extra turn from Sierra to finish the job off, but Triana's going to get the turn first. does get the heal. I mean, such a good setup from IYAKICHI, but not able to secure it. So now kind of back to 0, trying to bring that Kaki down ever so slightly.
And now we see the setup from Kaki for Molong, looking for the Reckless Assault onto Sierra, and that
gosh! So much damage. And then we see the AoE to finish the job. The Molong already pays off his value.
That was definitely a really good scenario for Molong. Of course, there was Molly there to follow up with the skill 1 to take out Sierra nonetheless, but it just makes things a lot more safer now for ETOWARU. And of course, at this point, if you take a look at IYAKICHI's lineup, he didn't get anything out of the Psycho Crusher. There's not too much aggression available for IYAKICHI.
Yeah, you have the Lulu, so maybe you can stay alive a bit longer, but as you mentioned it, with the Sierra God, looks like a lot of his offensive power has been kind of mitigated and limited in what ways he's able to go on the offensive. ETOWARU now looking to see how he wants to set things up for his composition as well.
Of course, we see the Fire Bison. He can cycle through a lot of his cooldowns, especially if he gets the skill 2 off. But he's going to have to wait until the next turn. There is Lulu to buy time. So the question will be, can IYAKICHI still go through the Kaki's defense within the Triana, or will he falter to the Triana?
I mean, this seems he played so carefully around that Triana in the beginning, and then he wasn't able to finish it off. The Triana coming through with a heal right before the Sierra got a turn. So things are looking a little dicey. This is a lot to consider for IYAKICHI if he wants to have a chance of winning this first game.
We see Icarus's cooldown. Of course, that Violent proc is going to help cycle through that a lot more. Now is sitting 2 turns away from that skill 3. And there is the punch out of the Bison, trying to get skill 3 back.
Yeah, I mean, it's all cycling right now for IYAKICHI. He needs to find that one window. Meanwhile, ETOWARU just chipping away left and right. I mean, both players, of course, still fighting alongside some form of sustain as well. The M Bison goes once again for another cycle through, trying to get to that Psycho Crusher.
You got to keep in mind that Molong is also cycling through right now, has the Reckless Assault available soon, and that could be the damage ETOWARU needs to do some follow-up with Kaki and secure a kill. Of course, Lulu with the heal is going to come in very huge, making sure to get rid of the defense break before Kaki takes a turn.
Yeah, so now just cycling through on both sides. Kaki looking for some damage, just chips away at the Fire and Bison. You mentioned that Molong ever so close as well.
There's a Crusher, and that is going to grab some control, but not enough. Of course, Icarus doesn't have a kill angle either. This needs to get a lot done, but it doesn't.
Oh, the shields mitigate a little bit, and not enough damage comes through against the Kaki. I mean, that was one window, and now it's passed, and now you have to wait so long again before IYAKICHI gets another chance. This is starting to look very, very dire for him.
So now it is the chance for ETOWARU now, setting up the Molong. Here is the Reckless Assault. Of course, we have Molly with the follow-up after Molong to try to get the secure damage in. And of course, Molong, it's like he's got a built-in additional turn after Reckless Assault.
Yeah, I mean, consistently, he's able to secure it both times at the beginning of that game, and then to finish things off as well. He sets himself up with the Reckless Assault, not how we normally see it being used, but the Molong this time says, I want to secure more turns, and ETOWARU will be taking that first game win off of the Molong.
That was definitely one of the strongest performances we have seen out of Molong Kaki today. It hasn't worked out great for SHAJA against MATSU, but now we are seeing the reason why a lot of the players in Group D are going with that trusty combo.
Yeah, so we've seen it to quite decent success. Now looking at game number 2, and there you have it. IYAKICHI Baba says, okay, that Molong was a little scary. Let's pre-ban that out. And then we see the Barbara being pre-banned by ETOWARU.
Of course, now it does mean that ETOWARU has his favorite unit available. I am very excited to see the Jaeger coming out.
Yeah, the Jaeger now open, as you mentioned it. Glad you brought it back up, Peter. We have to keep that in mind. The Sierra will be that first pick. The Vanessa and Pat are also available, now being picked up by IYAKICHI Baba.
You know, Chobra, speaking of Vanessa, I know that whenever Chiwoo came out, we touched a little bit on how I don't like Chiwoo. To be honest with you, I also don't like Vanessa because she tends to be a very passive pick. So Group D is going to have to convince me today why Vanessa is still strong in the meta.
Okay, yeah, the Vanessa quite frequent. We'll see. I mean, if you can change your mind by the end of the day, that'd be a big feat here for the players in Group D. There's that Jaeger we talked about being secured by ETOWARU in the second round of his picks.
I like that ETOWARU is going for a bit more of a bruiser, damage-heavy lineup because Patter does tend to be a fantastic counter to most CC units. This is going to be a very interesting strategy coming out now between Lauren and Vertihal. Lauren's a unit that successfully locks down one unit throughout the whole game, while Vertihal is pretty much the enabler for Lauren, giving her those turns whenever needed.
Okay, so IYAKICHI Baba does seem to have a plan. Can he carry it through, though? He's got his trusty Patter, he's got his Vanessa, now the Lauren and Vertihal as well, kind of trying to combo off of each other. 3 seconds left on the clock now for ETOWARU on the left side. And we're going to see Kinky come out on top of the Jaeger, and then the Cardinal to round things out.
We love the Kinky as always. The Onimushas are absolutely packed to the brim with damage. And of course, now we are seeing a potential Isis for IYAKICHI Baba. Isis does have the AoE, Oblivion, and Silent, potentially switching it around now for the Tessarian. A arguably more consistent form of Oblivion, putting a lot of emphasis on wanting to shut out Molly, Kinky, and Jaeger's passive.
Okay, so going for that Oblivion play, will it go through, though? Of course, we're waiting on the bans from both sides. ETOWARU has to be aware of the kind of scheme coming out from IYAKICHI Baba, but you kind of pointed it out throughout the draft, Peter. Every monster on the side of IYAKICHI has a very specific part they want to play in this composition. It's going to be Patter being banned out, and then the Kinky gets banned out against ETOWARU.
To be honest, I don't like the bans, how it went through for IYAKICHI Baba, because Kinky was a unit that Tessarian was supposed to counter. And now, he got his Patter banned out. ETOWARU is sitting on that Cardinal, so he is very exposed. He's going to have a lot of impact within this first turn, but ETOWARU is preparing to strike back real hard. Of course now, when you have Molly taking a turn right after Lauren, the setup has been very much interrupted now for IYAKICHI Baba.
Yep, the Molly providing so much value in breaking up that pace coming out from IYAKICHI.
That hurts. The Jaeger is sitting there on such a healthy amount of resistance, refuses to get armor broken ever since Lauren took a turn. Of course, we see that trusty old skill 2 out of Cardinal, looking to combo into skill 3 real soon.
Yep, now the bombs coming out from Sierra does land onto Vertihal.
ETOWARU was looking for the stun on Vertihal there to prevent this exact scenario from happening. But the problem is, if your Tessarian cannot get kills across the board using the armor break, you are going to be a lot scared as IYAKICHI Baba. You don't have sustain like ETOWARU does.
Oh, the Jaeger going for another hit onto Lauren. Now Vertihal and Lauren both very, very low.
Very, very low. There's no healing for IYAKICHI, so now we see Cardinal with Sword Rain. The follow-up is going to be big. You see the attacks be slow all across the board. The dot is there to kill the Vertihal. Things are looking so good for ETOWARU.
Really excellent setup there, and then for Cardinal to finish the job against the Vertihal. And
Justice!
And there you go. You just know it's over. Gives the GG over to ETOWARU. We were just about to get hyped over that Jaeger, but it's going to be the quick win for ETOWARU here in Game 2 as he moves on 2-0.
I like that ETOWARU, he was unfazed by the Lauren Vertihal. It is a very strong combo if left uncontested, but he knew exactly what he was doing by banning out the Patter. He has left IYAKICHI Baba defenseless against the Cardinal, against much of his damage, and that is how he secured a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, just a clear understanding of the composition and what each other was going for, not phased by the Lauren, the Vertihal, or even the Tessarian. Just bans out the Patter. Knows that he is able to really get through the other team, and you mentioned it during the bans as well. You thought maybe it was a little bit questionable in terms of how you're kind of thinking of that rock, paper, scissors, but here are the highlights in this best of 3.
Right, so this is another one of those rock, paper, scissors where both players brought in a huge nuke through the Icarus and Molong, but Molong has shown a bit of that supremacy. And now in round 2, this is where IYAKICHI was sitting there with not a lot of healing.
Yeah, once everything's brought down, Cardinal's able to just help finish the job, and then the dots are going to kill off the Vertihal, and from there, you kind of knew it was game over, so IYAKICHI goes for the quick GG out, and ETOWARU will be moving on 2-0 here in the quarterfinals in the winner's bracket for Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
You know what, Chobra? That was a great way to start off Group D, and now we have MATSU and ETOWARU advancing onwards to fight each other within the semifinals. And of course, we have more players for you guys today.
Yep, we have 4 more players we have to check out, see how they prepared for SWC 2021 so far here in the APAC preliminaries. Next up, it's going to be OSSERU versus MIRAN, MILKY TAISA versus KAIBASHIRA, TARO. So 4 new challengers coming in, fighting against each other to see who will be moving on here in the winner's bracket of Group D. But we've already kicked things off, and this group's wild compared to the other ones in terms of what monsters they're bringing out.
You know, Chobra, I know what you're thinking of, and it's that we haven't seen a single time Ganyoki today. What's going on?
Yeah, we saw Ganyoki all the time. I mean, Group C was literally Ganymede was there every game in some form, and if it wasn't Oki, it was still the M Bison and the Cardinal, and then we saw the Neftis coming through as well. We saw the Ganny Hathor return. It was all around Ganny, and we're not seeing like any thoughts around any of those monsters today in Group D.
Right, it's been all about Mo Long today, and Cardinal, it seems like the players in Group D feels is sufficient for the CC, and it has proven to work out. A lot of these Cardinals today have been grabbing some really good control.
Yeah, that's true. So far within, I mean, know your matchup, right? So they seem to know who they're going up against, and the Cardinal providing enough for the time being, but we've only seen 4 players so far. Things could change as we go through the quarterfinals. I mean, I'm excited to see how the meta continues to develop here in this bracket.
Right, so I feel like definitely we are going to continue to see a lot of the Mo Long, Sierra coming out as the first pick. I do believe that seems to be the main theme today. But my main question would be, how do you counter this? So far, we've seen Vanessa Triana, and I want to see more variations.
Well, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be able to find out when we come back to Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now. This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Group D of the APAC preliminaries here for SWC 2021. 8 players looking to challenge the world and go to the World Finals, go to the APAC Cup, and then all the way for a chance to become the champion here in SWC 2021. Right now, we are still in the quarterfinals, and next up, it will be OSSERU coming in.
You mentioned that OSSERU said in his player profile that not only is he good at defending in the game, but also in real life, showing why that basketball practice can perhaps show some, of a bit of a advantage for you in Summoner's War.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we had a player previously in the other group saying that playing football or soccer helps them kind of bring in the strategy into Summoner's War. We didn't quite see it execute, but here OSSERU says he likes to play defense in whatever he does, both inside the game and outside. So we'll see how that pans out for him as he has to go against MIRAN.
I love this matchup between MIRAN and OSSERU because when we saw OSSERU's lineup, we've seen a lot of Leo, Harmonia, very interesting picks, but MIRAN, his draft definitely puts a lot of damage, so it is going to be that spear versus shield.
Yeah, and we're looking at the Jaeger potentially popping up, the Ragdoll continuing here into Season 17, and then the Water Ryu as well. So some picks we're more used to here so far in the APAC preliminaries in SWC 2021. These two players looking to see who can stay alive here in the winner's bracket. They will be going up in a best of 3. Winner moves on in the winner's bracket today. The loser will have to wait until tomorrow for their second chance in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
I feel like even the attitude, the play style shows in their facial expression. We saw OSSERU. He was like very chill there. And on the other hand, MIRAN looks kind of angry. Like he really wants to tackle this defense down.
Right? Yeah, I was thinking that when I was looking at his picture too. Even during rehearsal, MIRAN, his picture just, he's trying to instill fear in his opponents. He's kind of staring at you, making sure you know that you're fighting up against MIRAN. We'll see if that is able to carry through as we're already deep into our draft of game number 1 in this best of 3. The pre-bans, Ragdoll now returning as a pre-ban as we've seen. MIRAN likes to favor that monster. And then the Molong being banned out against OSSERU on the left.
Right, so from previous matches, we have seen that Ragdoll Arda has shown that it's definitely a lot weaker in the meta now, but Ragdoll Jaeger is as strong as ever. So of course you want to be taking that strategy away. And surprisingly, we see a very different strategy coming out from both players, from their player profile. So much damage on the side of OSSERU to our left, and MIRAN is going for just the classic turn 2 team.
Yeah, MIRAN going for the Lulu and the Fire and Bison. But as you mentioned, OSSERU, I mean, he says he likes to play defense, but so far we're not seeing that, right? We're seeing the Fran, we're seeing the Sierra, and then we're seeing the Kaki as well. MIRAN now considering Juno as we take a look at her win rate. Not very successful, but has been a very good niche pick depending on the matchup.
Right, so the main reason I feel like Juno wasn't successful is because she was picked in a lot of matches that she didn't belong. And in this match here, it seems that her only use, once again, is going to be to counter the Fran. There's no CC on the side of OSSERU. Just going for pure damage through that Daphnis. Vertihal being enablers for all those damage on the side of OSSERU.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of damage, a lot of fire as well on the side of OSSERU. MIRAN now down to last pick. And we're going to see the Fire Occult Girl, who has seen some decent success so far in the APAC preliminaries.
I mean, this is the first game where we see Rika, and I don't think the... I was going to say I don't think Fran would get banned out because Juno's literal only role there was to counter Fran. But now if you ban Fran, sure, you enabled your Rika, but now Juno's useless. So OSSERU has to take out the Rika now. Given all the damage on his side, that is going to be a swift Vertihal, setting up that round one for OSSERU. Now, Hellfire, this needs to connect. The defense break is there. The
Oh my gosh, the nuke all the way through, and you called it, Peter. He needed to take out the Rika, and it is gone right off the bat here in game number 1.
Gone is the name for the Rika, and now at this point, of course, OSSERU sitting there so comfortable against the Diana. She will be able to get the Pew Pew done onto Sierra, but then there's 3 fire units that she's got to work on afterwards.
Yeah, that's still a lot for MIRAN to try to combat through here on the top side of this matchup. The Lulu is there to try to make sure that he gets the chances he needs.
So now Diana, she is there to get some of the more damage down onto Sierra. Sierra now sitting at about 40% HP, but does it matter when you have a bomb sell up and then you have even a Daphnis to follow up with more damage?
Oh, and the stun goes through as well. There's the Daphnis with extra damage. And another turn as well onto the Daphnis right off the back of the Sierra. So much damage being done onto the Diana right now.
OSSERU showing that he's got really good runes. When the game started, I mentioned that Vertihal was on Swift because it was so fast, but no, it's on Violent, and now we see the Diana going down to the dot. And of course now MIRAN is trying to make the miracle happen with the Juno solo, but the Hellfire is so painful.
So much damage, and there's the Kaki as well, and now it's just the poor Lulu all alone. Lulu and friends, but that is going to be the win for OSSERU, correctly identifying the target he needs to take out right off the bat here in game 1 of this best of 3.
OSSERU showing that not only is he good at defense, he's also good at offense. He absolutely brought the damage and showed us some of that rune quality.
You know, maybe OSSERU was just throwing everyone a little curveball, and really what he thinks is the best defense is good offense, right? So he's good at defense, but through his attack, because he just knew exactly what to do there. I mean, he brought out all these nukes, he went through the draft, and as soon as he saw who he needed to target, he did not hesitate. That Rika didn't stand a single chance as we saw the Daphnis able to get the full value. I mean, that's what you want to see when you see the Daphnis up in the draft. So now, OSSERU on match point in this best of 3, trying to move on in the winner's bracket. We're looking at last round's pre-bans from both players, the Ragdoll and the Mo Long. We'll see what they come up with this time in game number 2.
The pre-bans are going to get locked in. It is going to be Fran and Fire Bison. Not too strange pre-bans coming out given the meta that we have seen so far. And I want to touch up on the fact that this is why Juno is showing a poor win rate despite being such a strong unit, because I have seen so many instances where players pick Juno and they ban wrongly, or they simply just pick her into a really bad lineup. So I hope that MIRAN, if he goes for the Juno again, he thinks more this time about the actual counterplay coming out. Mo Long win rate though.
Yeah, it's right below 50%. I mean, Mo Long's another one where I think we've seen a lot of players just reliably pick him for what he offers, but they're not able to really pop up and finish the job with that nuke, and then it falls through. So we'll see. I love what you brought up about Juno, though. I mean, some monsters where they have such a good use, but if you're not able to capitalize on it, we're going to see the downfall. Ragdoll, not one of them. Always very, very strong here. 57% win rate, and now gets picked up by MIRAN.
Absolutely. Ragdoll is a good unit that you can always capitalize on and always have a strong showing, because to be honest, he doesn't take, there's not too much misplays you can do with Ragdoll. All you do is damage. You just click and you do big damage. And of course now, OSSERU, we see some of that Lauren Verd coming back. That's what made me excited, because that is going to be such an interesting synergy that we are seeing a lot, especially from Group D today. Wusa is going to be the response to the Lauren and Vertihal. Daphnis, of course, is fantastic at dealing with Wusa's skill 3 buffs.
Okay, so Daphnis being picked up as that counter specifically to Wusa. We saw Joe Gunn being secured by MIRAN Noah as well. Very interesting, of course. Joe Gunn was kind of the talk of the town coming into the preliminaries, but since that nerf has kind of taken a sideline role, we'll see him now and then, but not consistently. Now, what are the bans going to be? Running down the clock for these players, and the Daphnis gets banned out, and then the Ragdoll, no big surprise on that one.
I like how you said Joe Gunn's not very consistent, because if you look at MIRAN Noah's team comp, it's kind of like, what are you doing, MIRAN? Because I don't see too much of a synergy there myself. So MIRAN definitely needs to show us now why he brought this team, where the synergy is at. Wusa is going to be incredibly fast. Of course, now Lauren going to be struggling to set up for the Sierra.
Yeah, so trying to just prevent that Lauren from really popping off.
Of course, when you have the resistance out of Lauren's skill 2, it's going to be much harder now to lock down the Diana. And we've seen a Despair Jogon. Very, very interesting setup for that unit. And it has made it so that now MIRAN Noah doesn't have to worry about Sierra Bomb on turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, not something we normally expect, right? MIRAN Noah really throwing everyone for a bit of a troll here. We'll see if he's able to make it work out. Damage now coming out against the Sierra.
Definitely very big damage coming out from the Diana. And now, of course, Sierra's going to be locked down to about 35% HP. And there are no heals for OSSERU, so he's got to make use of the armor break now. Wusa coming in with the Mountain's power, topping off the Diana just a bit. Now, the question is, can OSSERU kill Diana before Lulu gets a turn?
And there's a Reckless Assault, brings it down very low. Sierra, of course, was stunned, so now going back over to Joe Gunn. There's the Scroll Trap.
Right, so Vertihal was the unit with the most amount of attack bar for OSSERU, so MIRAN Noah was very smart with locking out Vertihal. Now, looking for the attack bar reduction on the Lauren. So, of course, Lulu has the heal, and another heal.
Oh, huge coming out from that Lulu. Oh, and all that resistance coming out against the Lauren as well. This Diana.
You have to now make up. Oh, that was a lot of strength, but there's the attack bar going over to the Diana. There's the Pew Pew Town, and sit down, Sierra, is what MIRAN says.
I mean, MIRAN Noah, we were questioning it, but he seemed to know exactly what he had to do. And there's another stun coming out of that Despair Jogun. I mean, this is doing work right now.
The Despair Jogun, the new meta, boys. Write that down into your notes. It is popping off with all these stuns. Once again, looking for the potential stun from the Blossom painting.
Okay, not going to go through this time around, but I mean, so far, very successful. And also the Lulu able to keep the Diana alive. And you mentioned it, no sustain on the side of OSSERU. Now this is a battle against time for OSSERU.
Of course, with the shield coming out for Diana, it is a lot harder now for OSSERU to get anything done. Lulu, once again, has another heal, topping up the Diana, and it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, this Diana is so well protected. I mean, protection from both sides on this team, now bringing everyone as low as possible. Will transform back into her pony form as well. So Diana, very, very safe. And OSSERU says, you know what, at this point, I'm already losing one monster off of this Diana. I'm going to be down to 2. Calls the GG out, and MIRAN Noah will be striking back to tie things up here in this best of 3.
What's funny about that match, Chobra, is that at the beginning of the match, I mentioned that I don't know what MIRAN Noah is really bringing us in terms of synergy. The composition seemed like it was all over the place. It was really just like, protect the president. Diana, the super hard carry, but that's exactly what MIRAN Noah was able to do. The buff from Musa, buff from the Lulu and friends, they all stuck onto Diana.
Yeah, they were really, really on top of their job, and then the Joe Gunn surprising us with those stuns off of those Despair runes, so we're gonna see MIRAN Noah able to bring things back. I mean, he threw everyone for a loop, and it worked out in his favor. OSSERU, I'm sure, scratching his head just a little bit on why that was able to work out for MIRAN Noah, not what he was expecting, I'm sure, as we return to these pre-bans in Game 3. The Ragdoll gets pre-banned out again, but this time it's the Sierra gets pre-banned out against OSSERU, so the Molong available gets picked up right away.
I love seeing that adaptation coming out of MIRAN. Definitely putting a lot of respect on the Sierra pick, and it seems that it's no surprise today in Group D that most of these players are going to continuously be bringing in that Sierra first pick. So now we see some of the Fran action returning.
Yeah, Fran, this time MIRAN Noah considering the Fran, and then the Diana as well once again. Fran, of course, showcasing a little bit more proactive. On top of that, sustain on the side of MIRAN Noah. We'll see OSSERU on the left side. What does he respond with? Tied 1-1 match point to see who moves on in the winner's bracket and who will have to wait for a second chance tomorrow.
You know, Chobra, there was a time where first picking Diana was very disrespectful because there are so many counters to Diana, and if you do that, you're just begging your opponents to pick more fire. So that's why we see OSSERU not hesitating at all to bring back his Vertihal and Daphnis.
Yeah, the Daphnis, of course, worked out very well in Game 1. We'll see if he's able to make it happen. 2 fire monsters picked up right away. Annabelle, we've seen pop up quite frequently as well, so MIRAN goes for it, and then the Fire M Bison.
I love the Annabelle pickup. It is definitely a strong unit into the 3 that OSSERU has assembled so far. Now OSSERU, he needs to be thinking about potentially banning Annabelle or finding a unit that deals with her. So far, it seems like he's not really bringing anything to deal with it. I mean, Lulu has the immunity, however, so that could be the kind of offsetting factor to Annabelle's control.
Yeah, we'll have to see how OSSERU finishes things off as he picks up Kaki, another fire damage monster here for OSSERU. So it seems very clear that he wants to be able to target this Diana down once the game begins. We'll see what the bans are, but first we have to wait for the last pick of MIRAN. And of course, a quick reminder to our viewers, the new monsters, the Sky Surfer and Robo, not available here during the preliminaries. They will be available later on as we continue SWC 2021. Now we're seeing yet another Dragon Knight picked up by MIRAN.
You know, I talked to another caster from SWC, Stoic, and he was mentioning that he feels like Chao is a very strong water bruiser in this meta. So I am very excited to see that monster return, but of course, my fun is going to get ruined.
Gets banned out. Anytime I think we mention this, anytime, Peter, you say, well, this is actually a really interesting use, they get banned out right away. Players very aware of what they don't want to deal with, so the Chao does get banned out. Lulu and friends getting banned out against OSSERU. Match point for both of these players in this best of 3 to move on in the winner's bracket of Group D.
So now all eyes are on the Molong Daphnis combo. Of course, the immunity out of Fran does mean that Daphnis can now go for Hellfire, try to connect into Armor Break. We are expecting huge damage coming out. I would rather he doesn't go for Diana first though, so he goes for the Annabelle. Very smart. I love it, OSSERU. There's the Reckless Assault.
Big setup, and then the Molong with the Reckless Assault finishes it off. Peter, you said you wanted to see a different target, and OSSERU delivered. And now the Annabelle does not have to be a concern for OSSERU no more. MIRAN already down to 3 monsters.
Such a smart targeting out of OSSERU, but now the only problem is, at this point, you can't help but wonder. You see that Fire and Bison, they're about to take a turn on an open field, and the control can get really scary.
Oh, that's true. I mean, once you start with that M Bison, it might not stop. Kaki trying to do what he can before it begins. Not able to finish off the Diana, though, so there comes a heal from the Fran as well. And now looking at the Fire M Bison.
Thinking about skill 2 first before the skill 3, but instead it is going to be the Psycho Crusher!
Across the board, lots of damage, finish the job on the Molong. 2 stuns as well against both the Daphnis and the Kaki. There's the value.
Oh, so much confidence from MIRAN. Going for the Pew Pew onto a fire, knowing that he's going to crit 4 times. What a level of confidence.
Just goes for it, and he's able to secure another kill. So now MIRAN up in numbers, 3 versus 2, and monsters on the board.
Kaki is looking for the solo. If he wants a solo, he's got to have the Kaki Rune and Revenge. Of course, now healing coming out on Diana, and at this point, MIRAN knows it is pointless to take risks, going for the shield instead.
Yeah, now he has the advantage. He wants to play it safe. So Kaki trying to burn through the Fire M Bison first, does land the defense break, but not able to get much more damage down just yet.
The problem is that this Kaki has been... Oh, never mind! There is no more struggle for Kaki. Vertihal with the proc, giving the attack bar boost over to Kaki. That is going to be the chop!
Oh my gosh! The Kaki able to come through. Vertihal finally providing just full value that he needed to.
The Vertihal rune quality is absolutely shining right now. At this point, all OSSERU needs to do is take out the Diana, and at this point, we are looking at a very good potential for the Kaki solo.
Kaki, can you do it? I mean, Diana's got that friend next to her. We'll see who is able to come out on top of this 2v2. Match point for both of these players.
Vertihal trying to grab whatever attack bar he can for the Kaki. And of course now we have Diana has the Pew Pew available, but you can't just do it against fire whenever you please. And of course now with the armor breaks coming out, Fran is going to be dropping real low.
Fran has to heal herself. There's a defense break yet again. Diana takes the risk.
Going for the Pew Pew onto...
Oh no! Doesn't get the kill nor the crit.
Bam,
Not
bam.
able to transform back. and that is it. MIRAN thought that he didn't have much more of a window, decides to take the risk in those final moments, but it does not pay off. And OSSERU, with the draft of the Fire Monsters, comes out on top 2-1 to move on to the winner's bracket of Group D.
This is what we talked about, Chopra. When you pick Diana early, the opponent has to feel so disrespected. He brought out so much fire, and it's proven that this counter to Diana does work out.
Yeah, OSSERU just able to hold tight and even kicking things off in that game correctly, going for a different target, right? Eliminating that Anvil right off the bat so you don't have to deal with the nuisances there. OSSERU comes out on top. Very, very well played. A 2-1 victory, hard-earned, but well-earned as well. Here are some highlights from these games.
Game 1, we have seen so much of a smart play coming out of OSSERU, going for the recap first, and the second the Hellfire got the job done, there wasn't really much on the side of MIRAN because we knew that Juno was coming in very useless in this match.
Yeah, and then there's the second game. We wondered, what does this composition do? But the Jogun with the Despair is able to kick things off, and so much support on the side of MIRAN for that Diana makes things work.
Protect the president. As long as you keep Diana alive, you got a secure reign on the game. And of course now game 3, such a smart play out of OSSERU, going for the animal first is really what won him the game.
Yeah, eliminating that Anvil right off the bat, and now you have the numbers advantage. Still, things got a little dicey, but right at the end, MIRAN feels pressured against time, goes for the risk, and is not able to convert. And OSSERU will be taking the win, 2-1 against MIRAN. MIRAN will have to wait until tomorrow for a second chance in the loser's bracket.
I can't help but mention, Chobret, that the risk you mentioned that MIRAN took with the Diana Pew Pew at the end there was a move that he absolutely needed to make. He had to pray for the crits, killing the Vertihell, and then stunning Kaki. That was the only winning condition. So both players showed a lot of great finesse, making the right moves, but just OSSERU was a bit on top.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think that now comes back to the draft, right? Being able to draft against that Diana. But I'm glad you called that out, because even during the game, you said you have to play it a little safe, and we saw MIRAN play it safe until he needed to. He said, okay, well, now it's do or die time. He takes the risk. It doesn't pay off. He's not able to get the crits he needs, but he will have another chance tomorrow. But for now, we have our last quarterfinal here in Group D. Who will be the 4th player to move on to the winner's bracket semifinals? First up, we're going to take a look at MILKY TAISA.
MILKY TAISA, I absolutely love the name and also what he brings in terms of team synergy. We are seeing that potential return of Jogun again, and you can't help but wonder at this point, will we see another Despair Jogun?
That's true, yeah. I mean, it got some work done in that last matchup. So MILKY TAISA, we'll see if he's on that same page or if we're going to see something different here with the Jogun. Maybe we won't see the Jogun at all. Of course, has been kind of an on and off monster. I just want to note, MILKY TAISA, the name comes from Milky being their dog's name previously. So as a dog owner, I'm all for it. I'm a big fan of any other dog owners as well. But on the other side, he's going to have to go through KAIBASHIRA TARO.
You made me smile there, Chobra, with the comment about the dog name. Very sweet indeed. But of course, KAIBASHIRA TARO, this is another very fearsome name coming in to Group D. You see the ragdoll there, and we can see that in Season 16. There was a lot of usage on Wedjat.
That's true, Wedjat, another monster that we've touched upon briefly, but we haven't seen much at all this year in the APAC preliminaries. Now, both of these players, also players that have been kind of called out by the other players in Group D, known to have either good monsters or good rune setups. So them going off head-to-head here in the first round of the winner's bracket. We'll see who comes out on top. And I do have to mention, I do think it's funny that KAIBASHIRA TARO, in his profile, he also says, one of my hobbies is playing with puppies. So now we have MILKY TAISA, who used to have a puppy named Milky. KAIBASHIRA, also a puppy lover himself. We'll see who's able to take the victory this time around. MILKY TAISA on the left, KAIBASHIRA TARO on the right.
Of course, we do see now the trusty pre-bans coming out, Tian Lang and Ragdoll for both players. It is going to make them feel a lot more secure going into this matchup.
So two very, very strong bruiser monsters being pre-banned out, and now first pick on the side of MILKY TAISA. We'll see what he starts things off with. Will we see maybe another Sierra as we've seen all day? Oh, he's gonna go with the Jogun.
Jogun first pick. What kind of world are we in right now, Chobra? I am definitely very confused as we see another confusing pick just because we haven't seen it so much used. Wedjat is going to bring in that speed leader for KAIBASHIRA Taro on our right, MILKY TAISA to the left, and he also brings in a plethora of buffs within the defense buff and anti-crit.
I mean, this game alone is just a complete departure from Group D so far. I mean, on the side of MILKY, we have the Neftis coming out, we have the Savannah, but now on the side of KAIBASHIRA, he quickly fires back with the Molly, and then we have the Wind Panda as well. So double Panda Warrior right now for KAIBASHIRA Taro.
The Chop Chop brothers, we always love to see some of that bruiser action. Of course, now, if you are MILKY TAISA, you can't help but feel that you might not have enough damage to take out such tanky units on your opposing side. So now he switches up his team composition and brings in a little bit of CC and a little bit of sustain.
Yeah, so just trying to round things out for MILKY TAISA with the Cardinal and the Lulu. Now, KAIBASHIRA Taro, what is your final pick? Oh, we might be looking at a Leo here?
The Leo is a good counter to Savannah, and it also synergizes pretty well with Molong and Feng Yan because they are units that are not going to be super fast. And of course, Wedjat also boosts attack bar each time he takes a turn. More attack bar is boosted given the amount of buffs on the team, which is also a very good way to make use of Leo's passive.
I like it, I like it. Now that you've broken it down for us, I'm liking what I'm hearing. So KAIBASHIRA Taro rounding things out with that Leo. It does get locked in. Who will be the ban on both sides, though? Running down the clock, MILKY TAISA will be banning out that Leo, and then the Lulu gets banned out by KAIBASHIRA Taro.
You know, I really like what I saw there in the ban just now, Chobra. KAIBASHIRA Taro had a comp where he doesn't have too much explosive damage outside of Molong, so I realized that if you ban out the Lulu, the opponent has no sustain. So now we are getting into the match with beautiful bans from both sides. Of course, there is a Wedjat setting up the turn 1 for the Molong. Reckless Assault is available.
Does he go for it right away? He does indeed against the Jogun, and tons of damage. Jogun now down to just a small percent of his health. Oh!
The reason why KAIBASHIRA went for Jogun first is because he wanted to eliminate the Stripper and keep the defense buff. But now, if we see Jogun doing that before he goes down, of course now we have a attack buff Neftis, attack buff Savannah, and Colonel. We are expecting to see huge damage from MILKY TAISA.
Yeah, the Jogun leaving one great present for the entire team of MILKY TAISA with that strip.
There is a anti-speed synergy going on between Savannah and Neftis because had Neftis moved first, we would have seen much bigger multipliers, but that is not our current concern. We are looking at the sword rain coming out from Colonel.
Huge across the board, and now all three monsters very, very low. Cardinal continuing to put up damage against the Feng Yan and eliminates that monster.
Wow.
And continues up against the Wedget as well. And there's the Molong. Everyone gets eliminated instantly. And Molly wakes up for the scroll trap to find nobody around her.
It's a 1v3, Chobra, and Molly is not known for her solo capabilities. All she can do is try to buy time to go for the draw, which could take another 10 minutes.
Yeah, we've had this happen before this year in the APAC preliminaries, where it was just a war of attrition to try to get that draw out. We'll see if it happens, though. Starting to try to chip away, but this Molly is very, very well sustained.
Chobra, I'm a disbeliever personally. The second Neftis comes out with her Curse of the Beautiful, the armor break and the heal block is going to be too much for Molly to deal with. We see the debuffs connecting. Now, Savannah's going to follow up with a potential critical link or gigantic roar, and the damage is going to stack.
There you go. Yeah, already below half health, and the buffs over to the side of MILKY TAISA as well to get more turns. There's the secure, and it's going to be MILKY TAISA coming out on top, winning game 1, leading 1-0 in this best of 3.
Such a huge disruption from Jogun, making sure to remove all those pesky defense buffs, setting up for the Savannah and Fire Bison, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see just this amazing turn 1 setup on the side of KAIBASHIRA, but MILKY TAISA's Jogun does the one job he needed to. Gets the strip across the board off of everybody before he goes down, and that is all they wrote as we see MILKY TAISA leading 1-0. Now KAIBASHIRA Taro has to try to strike back in this best of 3. It needs to win this, tie it up to go to Game 3 here in the quarterfinals of Group D in the APAC preliminaries for SWC 2021.
Now, we do see the pre-bans getting locked in. Taking out the wedge out, of course, makes the Fengyan pick a lot weaker, so that is going to be a fantastic pre-ban from TAISA, as well as Neftis, which was a big pain, a thorn for KAIBASHIRA in the previous round.
Yeah, so adapting correctly rather off of Game 1, trying to take out some of these core monsters that they were able to witness. And now the Jogun comes out again for Milky TAISA alongside the Savannah as well.
You know, the biggest weakness to Jogun Savannah would be Leo, but it seems like all Milky TAISA is thinking about is, you know what, I can just ban Leo, so I'm not too scared of that. I'm just going to pick the trusty combo that worked out for me in the previous round. And of course now, the 2 picks coming out of Milky TAISA is going to really round out the composition, and we see some of the Molly's win rate.
Yeah, Molly also a little bit below 50%, but 7 and 8 wins, or 7 wins and 8 losses, so right around 50%. It's more purely because of the number of matches she has been a part of. We'll see what she can do. Of course, doesn't hold a candle to Lulu, who was picked up on the other side for Milky TAISA.
Of course, we have to mention the Vigor as well. For some reason, Group D is still back in the old school Summoner's War, bringing back the Vigor. And of course, we might see a bringback of Shihu, but no.
No, just goes with the Diana. Tried to get maybe a little excited, but the Diana will be the lock-in here. And then the Tianlong does come out. It was pre-banned in Game 1, but now free to be picked up by Milky TAISA.
Tianlong is a huge counter to Diana because he reduces the attack bar gain of all units on both sides, and Diana's a unit that needs to be getting the 100% attack bar from her inevitable wound. So now, if you are KAIBASHIRA Taro, you can't help but wonder, do I need to ban this Tianlong?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's just such a hard counter. So it is going to indeed be the ban out. Not able to really consider anything else. The Molly being the ban out by Milky TAISA. That does leave the Fran open, of course, on the side of KAIBASHIRA Taro.
So it seems like both sides are playing a game of 3 carries and 1 support. So we are going to be seeing, is Lulu superior today, or is it going to be the Fran?
Okay, we've talked about these 2 comparisons as well. Fran being a little more proactive as a support. Lulu, of course, purely going for so much sustain as Jogun starts things off.
Jogun starting things off, but not too beautiful when you miss 2 strips. Of course, Diana does move after Jogun due to the attack bar gain from her passive, and he's going for the transform, trying to potentially strip away the attack buff on Savannah. This could be a bit of a double-edged sword, though, because what if Savannah cuts in?
This seems like a risk, and he goes for it.
Oh my god! Such a good read on attack bars. I'm sure that KAIBASHIRA saw it at the right moment, and he realized that the Diana was not going to get cut. The Savannah was too slow, and I love that coming out from KAIBASHIRA.
Yeah, just a calculated risk there, and it does pay off. Lots of damage in the strip going down onto the Savannah, setting things up. Now we're waiting on Mo Long on the side of KAIBASHIRA Taro. Goes for the AoE, gets the stun onto the Savannah as well.
And now we have Cardinal with the skill too. Sword of Gluttony is what I would do to get the finishing job done. And now, of course, Savannah is going to get dismounted. We have Cardinal with an additional turn, but I don't think using Sword Rain is a good idea right now.
Yeah, not too many ideal targets, it looks like, so just goes for the skill 1, just attacks the Jogun, does a little bit of chip, and now Vigor trying to answer back for Milky TAISA.
Of course, you're not going to do too much damage onto a Diana given the elemental disadvantage, so he swifts the focus over now to the Cardinal, and there is the cleanse coming out of Lulu, but you can't help but wonder. Diana's about to take another turn with attack buff. The Pew Pew is going to hurt.
Oh, yep, and doesn't hesitate. The Diana is ready to fire off.
Here we go. Inevitable Wound grabbing so much damage, especially with that attack buff. Now, it is going to be Savannah down. 4v3 on the board. Diana showing a lot of prowess, especially against the Vigor Lulu duo.
Yeah, this Diana was unstoppable until now finally is able to get scroll trapped, but maybe a little too late as you've already lashed Savannah on the side of Milky TAISA. Mo Long now looking to add more damage onto the side of Milky TAISA.
Right, the absolute correct play there was to go for the armor break onto Jogun. You want to be saving the Reckless Assault for a 1-turn cleanup because we've seen what Lulu can do to HP bars if they are not wiped out all the way to 0.
Yeah, very, very good point about that. Now the Sword Rain comes through, not able to secure what he wanted, just a little bit of damage and the slow onto the Lulu.
But what's great about Cardinal is that he cycles so much turn so much attack bar, so you are not too concerned about missing out on your stuns there. Now, KAIBASHIRA going for the reckless, and that is going to get the job done.
Yep, calculates it correctly, secures that kill, and as you mentioned it, Peter, KAIBASHIRA TARO making all the calculations he needs, going through it step by step, now leading 4-2 Monster.
Oh, the provoke coming out. That was pretty huge from fire onto water. Now Diana looking to pile some more damage with the inevitable wound, getting that 3,000 all across the board, and things are not looking good for MILKY TAISA.
Yeah, already bringing down the Lulu off of that provoke. Looks like KAIBASHIRA TARO has correctly identified he has a chance to really put the nail in the coffin. Vigor does get a turn here, but what can he do? Defense breaking a lot of damage onto Mo Long, but Mo Long will answer right back. Lulu on the verge of death.
You know, this Mo Long hasn't been landing any defense breaks this game, but it doesn't matter because the raw damage out of Diana is going to be enough. This inevitable wound is absolutely going to get the job done.
There you go, Lulu out, and now Vigor left all alone, and that is going to be the GG out from MILKY TAISA. KAIBASHIRA answers back here in Game 2 and ties things up 1-1.
I love the adaptation coming out of KAIBASHIRA TARO. He knows that Feng Yin hasn't worked out stellar in the first game, so now he brought out a completely different comp, and man, it has worked out so beautifully.
Yeah, very, very well played. Peter, you called out exactly what needed to happen, and KAIBASHIRA TARO was on the exact same page. So now tying things up 1-1 in this best of 3 here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries in SWC 2021. Which player will move on to try to challenge the world in this winner's bracket, try to get that first spot into the APAC Cup? The loser here in this last game will be waiting until tomorrow for a second chance.
Now we do return to the original pre-bans from the first round between these players. It is going to be the Tianlang and Ragdoll.
Yeah, Tianlang and Ragdoll both being pre-banned out. We'll see if we see maybe a start, kind of a repeat of Game 1. Does the Jogun still make a priority return? It does for MILKY TAISA.
There is the Oracle, the future predictor Chobra coming in hot. Knows basically the strategy to MILKY TAISA, and just returning once again with the Nephthys Savannah. He definitely feels after that first game that this strategy is going to be potentially what breaks the defense of KAIBASHIRA TARO.
Yeah, and it's looking like it might be a bit of a repeat. Now, KAIBASHIRA TARO looking to take the Cardinal away this time, though he was able to secure it for himself in Game 2 as well, and now he takes it away. In Game 1, it was MILKY TAISA who was able to round out his comp with the Cardinal, but this time KAIBASHIRA TARO secures it for himself, and then of course picks up his trusty wedge out as well.
And the trusty Vigor as well. I kind of can't believe I'm saying trusty Vigor, but that definitely seems to be the trend so far in Group D. And the Fran follow-up is going to secure that secondary attack buff for MILKY TAISA, but you can't help but wonder, if Savannah gets banned out, that is going to be a lot of damage being gone from MILKY TAISA's composition. And if you see the Juno there, it brings so much this game because she is there to counter not only the Fran, but also Vigor, also Nephthys. It is going to be such a good Juno pick this time around.
Oh, so this might be one of those chances where Juno can bump up her win rate a little bit. We're seeing the Jogun banned out now against MILKY TAISA, and then the Lulu gets banned out on the side of KAIBASHIRA TARO.
Right, so Lulu being gone means there's no more sustain for KAIBASHIRA TARO, and the reason why KAIBASHIRA did not ban Savannah is because he's brought double fire. So now we have to see, can the double fire show that elemental advantage, predicted future, beautiful setup all across the board. Now there is Mo Long with the reckless assault. He can lock out a priority target.
Yeah, he's looking for it. He's considering it. There's the Vigor. Tons of damage brought down onto the Vigor. Can the Sword Rain finish the job?
Oh!
No, the Vigor lives just ever so slightly. There is the dot over his head, though.
Now we have to look at the attack bars. Fortunately for KAIBASHIRA TARO, the Vigor moves ahead of Fran, so Vigor is going to fall to the dot. But we can't help but wonder that now Fran with the follow-up, there is the Fairy's Blessings. How much can Savannah utilize this window of opportunity?
Huge attack incoming, and now there's the critical link. Oh, Witchuk gets eliminated one shot from the Savannah.
The second the defense buff comes off from the critical link, that is going to be the finishing blow. Now, Juno is looking to cycle turns with the skill one, grabbing as much attack bar as she can, and KAIBASHIRA TARO showing that he wants to take out the Fran ASAP.
Yeah, trying to bring down this Fran as low as possible. And there's the provoke getting resisted as well. Mo Long adding some damage on top.
If he gets something big done, it would have been crazy because there were so many buffs on the side of MILKY TAISA. So it did prove to be the very good insurance against the Mo Long's Dragon's Dance. Now we see Savannah getting those additional turns.
Now Mo Long so low. Fran still has to heal herself back up. Juno now back on deck. Oh, gets the stun onto the Savannah.
Huge stun on Savannah. It's going to buy more time now for KAIBASHIRA TARO, especially given that Savannah is the biggest damage on the side of MILKY TAISA. Of course, we do have the potential Sword Rain, but the skill 1 is going to be sufficient. I love the patience from KAIBASHIRA TARO.
Yeah, doesn't take that chance just to try to greed that finish. Is able to still get the dismount from the Savannah with the skill 1. Juno continuing to do what she can to keep this game going for KAIBASHIRA TARO as Mo Long finally gets finished off.
I love what MILKY TAISA did to KAIBASHIRA TARO there with going for the attack break onto the Cardinal because he wanted to be getting an additional turn, trying to get the silence down ever since the nerf on Nephthys, but that did not happen. And of course now we have Sword of Gluttony, we have Juno, so much advantage going over to KAIBASHIRA.
Yeah, just pure damage advantage here for KAIBASHIRA TARO, and looks like it's going to finish off Fran. And Nephthys left all alone, and there's another stun coming out from this Juno. The Juno is doing work, finally proving her value in this game.
And you look at the attack speed slow coming out. Of course, he is there for the attack bar decrease as well. And that is going to be the finish up from KAIBASHIRA TARO.
KAIBASHIRA TARO brings it back in game 3. He's able to make the comeback run, win 2-1 in this best of 3, and he will be the one moving on to the winner semifinals today. On the other side, MILKY TAISA takes the defeat, and he'll have to wait until tomorrow for a second chance run in the losers bracket.
Such a strong showing from both players here today, Chobra, and I especially love that finally we've seen a game where Juno brought a lot of priority. You know, she was there to counter basically the whole team composition of MILKY TAISA, so we got to give absolute props on the drafting ability of KAIBASHIRA TARO.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Juno, one of those monsters that was played with maybe not being plugged in to the right situations, but not this time. Taro was able to make it work, but here are highlights for all 3 games.
This is the first match where we saw Feng Yan securing the kill on Jogun, but it was a bit too late. Once the attack buff was there for MILKY TAISA, it was just too much. You look at the Cardinal damage, and it is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Jogun again leaving that one big Christmas present for the rest of his team, but KAIBASHIRA TARO was able to answer right back starting in game 2.
Right, this is where I would have to say that KAIBASHIRA TARO really showed us why he is here at the SWC2021 APAC preliminaries, because that play out of Diana was questionable whenever we've seen it, but this time it wasn't. He got that 1-1 locked down, and now the third match was where we saw so much action from Cardinal and Juno.
Yeah, Cardinal and Juno really proving their value. I mean, of course, the other monsters kind of doing their part, at least at the beginning of the game, but these two are what was able to really secure the win for KAIBASHIRA TARO as we see the final blow against MILKY TAISA. So with that, KAIBASHIRA TARO wins 2-1. We'll be moving on off of this best of 3 to the winner semifinals here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
Absolutely huge coming out. You just can't help but wonder what more these players have in store for us, because we are now moving on to the semifinals, seeing again the players that have shown us some of their finesse. And of course, we are going to have first MATSU versus ETOWARU.
Yep, MATSU and ETOWARU both winning 2-0 in their matches to move on. So we'll see who has the upper hand in that first semifinals. OSSERU and KAIBASHIRA TARO both had to go through the entire best of 3. Both won 2-1. So kind of different scenarios on each side of the bracket, but should be very interesting given what all 4 of these players were able to show us. Of course, the other 4 players still have a second chance tomorrow.
Right, so we always have to make sure to remember that on the day 1 of APAC preliminaries, players that do get taken out, they're not going home just yet, because tomorrow they'll be able to prove themselves. But first of all, I want to just touch up on the meta that we have seen so far today. Once again, continuing on with the trend of no Gani Oki Hathor. We boycott CC today, and we just bring raw damage, especially with Mo Long.
I gotta say, it's a little refreshing, Peter. Listen, I mean, there's a lot of high moments with the Ganymede and the Oki, but I gotta say we've seen a lot of it so far in the APAC preliminaries. But of course, for all of you at home, we have some codes. We got Atsui SWC2021, so that's going to be Atsui, which is kind of like, it's fire. It's, this is the hot stuff right now in relation to SWC. This is the hot competition right now, so hope you guys enjoy that code for your energy and summoning stones. Atsui meaning fire or hot in Japanese. So now, I mean, so far it has been fire. Like you just mentioned, it's all damage right now here for Group D. So this is going quite well in terms of having variance so far in the APAC preliminaries.
And I also want to point out that so far in Group D, I think we have seen the most prominence in really the players' drafting abilities, making sure to make the right move when their turns come. I feel like this is the smartest group of players we've had so far in the Asia preliminaries.
Okay, well, we'll see how the semifinals pan out here in Group D right after the short break.
This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now. This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Group D of the APAC preliminaries here for SWC 2021. These players looking to challenge the world as they try to secure a spot in the APAC Cup on the road to the World Finals of SWC 2021. Trevor here with Peter, and Peter, we're going to take a look at MATSU as our first player, the one returning player in the SWC so far here in Group D.
We mentioned that MATSU is a player that has to continue to prove himself, and so far he has done exactly that. 2-0 clean victory against SHAJA, and now he's got to prove himself against ETOWARU, who has a much different strategy from SHAJA, bringing in a lot of Molly and Jaeger so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So both players, I think, going to have to adapt just a little bit. But MATSU made swift work of SHAJA in his first match. Of course, SHAJA will be returning tomorrow in the losers bracket. MATSU currently going up against ETOWARU here in the winners semifinals. Win this and you move on to the winners finals and best of 5 to secure that first spot into the APAC Cup. And you mentioned it, ETOWARU, an avid user of that Jaeger.
But he also proved himself earlier in the first match against IYAKICHI Baba. So now the question is, will ETOWARU be able to get a lot of the uncontested justice off of Jaeger that we have previously seen? Or will we see a lot more pressure coming now onto the Jaeger pick?
I mean, you gotta imagine with a player like MATSU, who's been around for so many years, he's been involved in the SWC 4 years in a row. He's made it to the World Final stage in 2018 as well. He's got to be well prepared, well equipped to deal with this Jaeger. We'll see what his game plan is. This is still a best of 3 here in the semifinals of the winners bracket in Group D of the APAC preliminaries. Which player will take the lead? Which player will secure a spot in the winners finals? A best of 5 awaiting one of these winners.
Always, as the days go by and we get to the semifinals now, we get a little bit more of a read onto the meta. So, of course, ETOWARU, recognizing that Yeonhong is a key battery to MATSU's composition, instantly locks it out.
Yep, MATSU on the left side, ETOWARU on the right, and you called it. Yeonhong, the big one there. The Jaeger not pre-banned away by MATSU, so seems he's well aware that he's equipped to deal with it should it come out. He instead chooses to pre-ban out the Sierra, which was an avid pick for both of these players in their previous match. MATSU will secure the Molong first, and then the counter picks, Lulu and Carnal, coming out from ETOWARU.
The Sierra pre-ban really just points out to me that MATSU came in knowing that he wanted to take the Molong. He didn't really care about Sierra this time around. But of course, we do see the stats on Fire Bison, and it is as stellar as always.
Yeah, 55% with that many games that you've been involved in. That's pretty solid. I mean, well over 50 matches, 60 games here for the Carnal and Fire and Bison. Meanwhile, we see that Fran being picked up as well by the MATSU. And then the Kaki, 6 wins and 10 losses. Actually a pretty low win rate here for Kaki.
The problem for Kaki has been that he hasn't been able to get enough damage down in turn 1, and ever since then he's been controlled down by the attack breaks coming out of Fran and etc. Of course, now we see ETOWARU following up with the trusty old Jaeger and Diana, who's been just very powerful throughout the whole APAC preliminary.
Yeah, Diana has proven herself time and time again. Jaeger will be that relied pick by ETOWARU. Now, Matsu, you left the Jaeger open quite intentionally. What is your plan? Looking at the Daphnis, we've seen it have some solid success before, and then the Antares as well.
More fire coming out despite ETOWARU having only one win. We have seen a repetition of the strategy earlier, and it has worked out against Diana. So now the question is, will it work out again? And if you're ETOWARU, you have to bring back some water like a Chow, like a Barbara. There's an arsenal of options available.
Yeah, we've definitely seen the monsters you mentioned. We've seen to some success. The Chow probably not seen really at all here throughout the APAC preliminaries, but we've seen the Barbara have some great success, and now we're going to see the Water Druid being the pick for ETOWARU.
So Water Druid is going to be a fantastic counter to both Molong and Daphnis' nukes, because he cuts in whenever an ally drops below the threshold HP amount, and of course that's why we see it get banned out.
Yep, Abelio gets banned out, and then the Daphnis getting banned out by ETOWARU. Doesn't want to deal with the potential massive nuke coming out from there. This is a best of 3 between these two players in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
So now we are looking at the attack bars, and the Lulu and friends is very fast, which is very concerning. And now Diana, of course, is going to be going for the shield here now, trying to protect the Jaeger from the onslaught of damage.
Yeah, just going for a little bit more protection for ETOWARU. The Jaeger was brought down already so low by that Molong, and now the heals, and then potentially another heal coming out from Lulu and friends as she secures another turn.
It's a given rule at this point that if Lulu gets 2 heals off, a unit's going to be full HP regardless of what HP it was at previously. Now, Cardinal, of course, can't get much done given Fran's buffs on the side of Matsu, so he's going to have to wait a couple turns.
Yeah, both sides really kind of well prepped for these first turns. They'll be able to kind of pass it through and now have to wait for another opportunity as more damage coming out against Jaeger once again.
Now we are looking at a potential justice out of the Jaeger. It is going to do a decent amount, and we see that it is a violent Jaeger, not on Vampire, but that does mean there will be a lot more damage coming out of ETOWARU.
Yes, a lot of damage, and of course still has a support from the Lulu. The Antares does secure a turn here, cuts in.
Right, the Antares is proccing the passive a fair amount, constantly moving in, but of course the revenge out of Jaeger is going to be very painful, so now Fran has to cleanse all those debuffs away and heal Antares back up.
Yeah, the Jaeger brought down very low defense break there as well. Lulu gets a turn, but doesn't have her skills 2 or 3.
This is scary because now Kaki is going to move, and there's no way for ETOWARU to interrupt the Kaki. And of course, we are seeing the potential skill 2, skill 1 angle from the Kaki, looking for the chop and the chop.
Gets the job done. The Jaeger now out. A huge Thorn pulled out by Matsu as he leads 4 monsters to 3 against ETOWARU here. Sword Rain does finally come out with an angle. Only gets 1 stun, but the Antares locked down quite low.
But the stun on Antares is pretty huge because that makes Diana a lot more comfortable now with transforming. The Dragon Stance coming out, but was unable to grab a lot of advantage because there was no stun. And we see ETOWARU still playing very passive, going for the shield instead.
Yeah, still wants to just make sure that he can secure this long fight. We'll see if that pays off, though, as he's already at a numbers disadvantage, and Kaki slashing away, gets rid of the shield. There's a defense break as well. Molong starting to chip down. Antares now living in a sliver of health, gets eliminated.
Right, so that finish off was very crucial from ETOWARU because Fran was locked and loaded with the heal. So now we are sitting on a 3v3, but Fran with a fantastic violent proc is going to be able to provide that attack buff for Kaki. Of course, Lulu has a cleanse of her own, but if Kaki armor breaks with skill 1, it could get dicey.
Yeah, use the skill 3 right away, but you call it, Peter. There's the defense break coming out from Kaki, and a lot of damage too. Reckless Assault on top of the Diana, and she goes down immediately. And that not able to be saved right there.
At this point, it is going to be a 2v2. It's funny because we mentioned that Fran and Lulu are kind of like the rivals when it comes to healers. But now, there's another rivalry going on. Kaki with raw damage, and there is Cardinal for the CC. Will CC come out on top or the damage?
Yeah, I mean, so far the damage looking strong, but of course, Lulu, it's like they're perfect counters right now against each other. You have more damage on the side of Kaki, but more heals coming out of the Lulu, and now the control from Cardinal keeps the Kaki locked down for just a little bit.
But the problem is that if you don't lock down the Lulu as well, the Purify is there, looking for the armor break now, always landing it on the second hit, so he's not getting the boost in damage so far, as we see actually now Lulu dropping real low.
Yeah, the Fran is in danger right now, has that slow attack speed as well. And the
Huge.
Cardinal with the correct targeting right now. ETOWARU seems to know exactly what he has to do. He's feeling pretty comfortable. He still goes for the heal, protects the Cardinal, and still gets another proc to hit against the Fran.
ETOWARU absolutely needs to keep this Fran locked down because the damage out of Kaki is stacking up. Unfortunately, there was no provoke out of Cardinal in the previous turn, so now the attack buff is here. Even if Cardinal takes out the Fran now, she has done her last move, basically the dying kiss, and now it's set up the Kaki.
Oh!
The damage is crazy with the attack buff.
Huge. Skill 3 comes out, but only up to half health now. And now another heal coming up for Fran. She's all the way topped back up. Sword Rain trying to do what it can. The attack speed slow onto Fran once again. But you called it, Peter. The attack buff wasn't enough for the Kaki to finish the job. And Lulu now just trying to hang on to try to see if they can drag out this game, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I also don't think it's going to happen. ETOWARU just needs to give it up because Kaki is going to get only stronger and stronger. And this is why I mentioned that Cardinal really had to keep the Fran locked down. Just one turn that he missed the provoke, and the match got completely turned around, and the win goes over to MATSU.
MATSU brings it home in game number 1, and the Fran Kaki combo comes out on top in that intense 2v2 towards the end of game 1. MATSU leading 1-0 in this best of 3.
MATSU is just here today to show us a flawless record, hoping to keep on that 2-0 victory, and taking in that advantage right on round 1 is a great way to do that.
Yeah, MATSU really showing his prowess here in that first game. It looked like things might get a little dicey as they were trading back and forth, but correctly identifying how to take out that Eager as soon as possible, gets the job done, and then he's able to continue. And of course, I mean, having that Ataris also kept the Diana so passive throughout the whole game, perhaps making a huge mark against ETOWARU's game plan.
Right, absolutely. A great point by Chobra. It bought enough time where Kaki was able to truly shine. And of course now, if you're ETOWARU, you just got really heavily punished for the Diana pick. So you have to be a lot more wary now and consider picking it later on in the draft rather than early.
Yeah, see if you can maybe circumvent that a little bit as we saw the pre-ban. So Jaeger this time does just get pre-banned right away. Still doesn't want to have to deal with it 2 times in a row. And the Molong being pre-banned out against MATSU. The Reckless Assault, of course, very, very scary to kick things off with. So the Sierra first pick returns now for ETOWARU.
Sierra first pick. This is a unit that we have seen the win rate a little bit lower on the 40% side, but we know that she is still very good. So it is going to be a very strong, secure. And of course, now we see MATSU returning with one of his trusty old combos in the Yunhong.
Yeah, the Yunhong now not able to be pre-banned, so does get picked
Wow.
up. 5 wins, only 2 losses. Very, very successful when the monster shows up here in SWC 2021 in the APAC preliminaries.
Of course, when you have that few little games, each loss really hurts. So MATSU, if he wants to make his favorite unit shine, he's got to show us what he's capable of with that Yunhong. As we see the Kaki now being picked up by ETOWARU, he says, you know what? That unit was an absolute star of last game. Now I want to use him.
Yep, takes the Kaki and also picks up the Lulu as well. Of course, the Fran was already picked up by the MATSU, so not able to make that pair with the attack buff. Now Daphnis coming out for MATSU, and the Water Marshal Cat returns. We'll see if it's able to live through the draft this time around.
MATSU, he really likes Mina, and he feels that it is a very strong pick in the meta, and I do agree. Whenever I play Siege or Guild Wars myself, I often find myself bringing Mina, especially into Kaki, because she is fantastic at grabbing the 1-2-3 punch, and it brings down Kaki low enough to go for the kill angle.
Yeah, we've seen that damage firsthand last week in Group C of the APAC preliminary, so we'll see if it can happen here as we see the rounded out picks for ETOWARU. We see the Wind Heart Magician and then Kinky as well.
So Kinky is the late game insurance for ETOWARU, looking for that comeback. And of course, Triana is going to be a very good way to deal with the nukes out of Daphnis, not out of Mina, however, because she does have the multi-hits, which goes through Triana's passive. So it is going to be very interesting to see how MATSU plays around this Triana defense.
Okay, so Juno comes out for MATSU as the last pick. Now, we talked about Juno a little bit in situations, and I'm starting to think, Peter, maybe this one's not one of those good situations.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chobra. Juno doesn't bring too much value this game outside of having an elemental advantage on Sierra and Triana, because there's not too many buffs coming out of ETOWARU besides Triana skill 2 and Lulu skill 3 and skill 2. So Matsu really needs to show us that his Juno is different. It is built on such a high amount of damage, and he is looking for the Mina cleanup onto Kaki through Triana's passive.
Okay, all eyes on Mina, it looks like, as we see that Daphnis and the Kinky banned out. We have Matsu leading 1-0 in the winner semifinals here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries. This is game number 2.
Now we have Yeonhong to set up some of the attack bar gains for Matsu. The strip is going to miss, meaning that there is now no longer attack bar gain. So now, if we take a look, it seems like Mina is definitely going to be struggling to get a move on. So now Sierra looking for the Fate of Destruction, but it shouldn't be enough to kill.
Yeah, just puts the bomb onto the Yeonhong. We'll see what the plan is here. Do you go for the detonate right away, considering it, and does go for the skill 3. Lots of damage and a stun onto the Yeonhong.
Definitely a lot of damage right now. Juno looking for the attack buff damage, going for the skill 1 on Kaki instead. And we see that the Kaki is ruined on very tanky stats. So now it is going to be a matter of wonder. Can Mina have enough damage with the chain attack?
That is a lot of damage, but not able to finish the job just yet. Kaki goes down quite low.
Fortunately, the Yeonhong is still alive for Matsu. You definitely don't want her to go down very easily, because one of her main strengths comes from the fact that she is so good at sustaining herself, but it will not happen this time.
Yeah, Sierra is able to finish the job. Meanwhile, Lulu had healed up the Kaki quite a decent amount. More sustain coming out from Triana as well.
So now, because the attack break got cleansed, Mina has the 3 or the 2 crit angle, which is not enough to go through Triana's passive. So now we are seeing the Triana passive grabbing so much value for ETOWARU.
Yeah, just keeping that Kaki alive for that one extra turn. That might be all they needed, as another bomb comes out, this time onto the Mina. And while we had all eyes on Mina, she's not able to really secure the win yet for Matsu.
Of course, the heal out of Fran is going to be huge and buy a lot of time for Matsu. But we saw that the Fate of Destruction is now only a turn away. Triana's passive only a turn away as well. So Matsu really needs to get something done, but there's another proc, and Triana has passive up yet again.
Oh my goodness, that is a pain. You're trying to work around it in whatever ways you can, but Matsu not able to find the right timing just yet. Juno doing what she can, putting the dots on 3 members.
And there is the Fate of Destruction we talked about. Sierra doesn't even need to land it on Mina, because the skill 1/skill 3 will be enough of an AoE damage output to take out the Mina. And now at this point, Matsu needs to show us. You know, we questioned the Juno pick. We said it wasn't a very stellar moment, but now he's got to prove himself.
Yeah, I mean, this is, if you are able to win this, you prove everything for Juno ever, I would say, in this 1v4. I mean, so much sustain on the side of ETOWARU. Yeah, it's not looking so good. There's the GG out, and ETOWARU will be able to bring it back. Ties at 1-1 in game 2 of this best of 3.
ETOWARU, he was definitely able to outclass his opponent in the draft this time around. The Triana was there to grab so much value. He banned correctly, and also ETOWARU just recognized that Juno was not a huge threat for him, so he just left it alone till the end, and it worked out great.
Yeah, not really phased by that Juno. Doesn't get, shaken or thrown off his track. And ETOWARU able to play his own game plan of keeping that Kaki, keeping that Sierra, able to continue the pressure against Matsu. Now tied 1-1. We return to the pre-bans of game number 1. Sierra and Yeonhong will be pre-banned out, and we'll see how each player adapts in this draft. The winner will move on to the winners finals for a chance to secure that first spot into the APAC Cup from Group D.
Of course, when you have match point for both players, the pressure is going to be stacked very high for both players. And in the first round, where we had the pre-bans of Sierra and Yeonhong, Matsu was able to secure the win. So now, ETOWARU needs to bring in a bit of a switch up in the strategy and somehow find the kryptonite to Matsu.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's looking exactly the same. Now, this is the same point where ETOWARU previously brought out the Diana and then got countered by the Antares and really wasn't able to play actively. We'll see if ETOWARU changes things up in his picks here in this round.
We are waiting on the timer now. Of course, Matsu is there with the Molong Kaki Fran. It has brought so much damage for Matsu, and it's worked out great. So ETOWARU, he's got of course, the trusty old Molly and Jaeger. But right now, I'm wondering, will ETOWARU return to the Triana last pick? Because that unit has seen a bit of a, a shaky result. But when it's worked out, it worked out very nicely against the damage.
Yeah, I mean, that the passive is so huge when it's able to work out. A Jaeger we have not seen too often. Sitting at, just about halfway through, 3 wins, 2 losses. We'll see how that pans out for ETOWARU. The Icarus being considered alongside the Molong, and then we see the Water Onimusha as well. Just all the damage now being piled on top of the Fran to round things out for MATSU. MATSU has shown his hand. ETOWARU, how do you respond?
You just gotta, be caught off guard when you see the double Onimusha coming out. Suiki is obviously going to be a very strong addition of damage for MATSU. So now ETOWARU, instead of going for the Triana, brings in a super carry in the Diana. So now ETOWARU, if you banned the Kaki, you would have had a free reign on Diana. But ETOWARU was very smart, realizing that Diana could get banned out, so he took out Molong instead.
Yeah, doesn't want to all in on that choice. Still bans out the Molong. Don't want to deal with that Molong Icarus combo. This is match point to decide who goes on to the winners finals between these 2 players in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
We saw MATSU saving that skill 3 out of his Icarus because he knew that he can't get the kill done anyways, it seems, since the Lulu is here to cut in, and she's just going to be healing up whatever damage Kaki did.
All right, so the sustain very clearly set up on the side of ETOWARU. I mean, this seems to be a spear and shield situation here between these 2 players. As we see the setups potentially, Cardinal not having a window right now to do anything.
ETOWARU tried to strip away the attack buff from Kaki, but it did not work out. We see Suiki piling the damage now, trying to set up for the Icarus skill 3, and we've seen that ETOWARU's Jaeger is on Violent, not Vampire, so he doesn't have any sustain left. We're looking at an angle for Dark Recovery.
Oh, and it's not able to finish the job, but he does secure another turn, and while the Jaeger did answer back, Icarus now looking to see if he can do anything. Not going to have enough damage, so he decides to switch targets a little bit. Doesn't want to risk the revenge here from the Jaeger.
MATSU, he knows that the Kaki was about to move next, so he's going to go for the Blade Slaughter, and the damage is there to take out Jaeger.
Yeah, finishes the job against Jaeger, and now suddenly ETOWARU, you're looking like you're lacking a lot more damage than you did at the beginning of this round.
You have some of the greatest supports in the game in sustain, but you know that when you have a lot of sustain, you need the damage follow-up, and Cardinal is not that. Of course, Suiki with the elemental advantage is going to have a really easy time landing those defense breaks, and ETOWARU has a lot to prove right now.
Yeah, MATSU, I mean, the setups right themselves here between the 2 Onimushas. Icarus already did their job as well. Cardinal doing what he can, trying to bring down this Fran, but is that really going to be enough? Kaki now putting on his own defense breaks as well. A lot of damage now expected from the Suiki. Swipes through, not able to finish off the Cardinal just yet.
Not enough, but you love seeing the huge damage come out, especially out of such a cool skill. And now Molly is trying to buy time with the shield and cleanse, and there's a provoke out of Cardinal, but the problem is the second Icarus gets skill 3 available, it could get very scary for ETOWARU.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can just keep him not at full health, the Icarus should be able to finish the job. Lulu doing what they can to try to top off Cardinal, the Molly as well through the passive. Now Sword Rain does have an angle.
Sword Rain, definitely a skill that is not too consistent with landing the debuff. So now ETOWARU looking for the skill 2 first. Sword of Gluttony, grabbing the attack bar, but now Icarus, does she have the angle? I say no, because Lulu's about to move.
Yeah, the attack bar correctly identifying that from MATSU, doesn't take that risk, and so just passes through the turn for now, trying to bring the Cardinal back down. But these heals are really piling on for ETOWARU.
At this point, Molly is exposed, so MATSU was thinking along the same lines as me, looking for the armor break angle onto the Molly, and now we have Molly at around 40-60% HP, and it seems like Icarus just didn't have enough.
Yeah, not enough there. Some more heals coming back out. And these sustains are really doing what they can. The 2 supports trying to keep this fight alive. Fran finally able to get the buffs back online for the team.
Attack buff means it gets so much scarier. And now there's the Dark Recovery. At this point, MATSU looking so strong with the double Onimusha.
MATSU takes the win off the back of the double Onimushas, off the back of that Fran. And of course, the Icarus as well, getting the job done onto the Jaeger early on, just bringing him down so low, allowing the setup for the Kaki to finish the job. MATSU wins 2-1 to move on to the winners finals in Group D.
That was definitely a hard-fought victory for MATSU, but he knew that his trusty old combo within the Onimushas, the Molong, the Fran, it's had enough damage to go through most of these opponents, chop through them, and that is exactly what MATSU did.
It's as you said, the chops coming out this time from the Onimushas, the double Onimusha setup from MATSU, able to secure him the victory. He now awaits a best of 5 to see if he can secure that first spot to the APAC Cup here from Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
I mean, I feel like still at this point, once again, no Gani Oki anywhere to be seen. And at this point, you know, this might be the first time in my life where I've seen just the whole entire tournament going in the way of damage, bruisers, rather than CC. And it's very refreshing.
Yeah, it is refreshing. I was just about to say that because I almost forgot that we haven't been seeing Gani Oki just because it's all been damage today. And every time you bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, we haven't seen them. You know, we've been seeing them all these weeks. But here are the highlights from this last match, a close best of 3 between these two players.
And of course, when you mentioned that a lot of the meta is favoring these bruisers, you can't forget the Molong and Kaki being there, just being a consistent damage output throughout the game. And if you let the Kaki get to late game, we've seen what happens.
Yeah, the Onimusha able to continue to rain terror. But of course, ETOWARU answers back in game number 2.
Once again, it's Kaki, right? It feels like between MATSU and ETOWARU, Kaki has done so much work, both players unable to shut him out.
Yeah, Kaki finally trying to bring back his win rate a little bit. And in game 3, the Molong was banned out, but the Icarus there for the same purpose, now setting things up for 2 Onimushas on the side of MATSU.
Right, huge shout out to MATSU, utilizing the Icarus skill 3 at the perfect windows. You know, not being too early with that before the Lulu, and of course that is how MATSU was able to take the 2-1 victory over ETOWARU.
2-1, MATSU proves that he is a veteran for a reason. The one returning player here in Group D in the SWC. So he returns for SWC 2021, 4 years in a row now that he's participated. He's made it to the World Final stage before in 2018. He wants to try to do it again this year around. Now he awaits one best of 5, and of course we have to play the other semifinal to decide who the opponent is going to be.
Right, so we have seen a lot of Molong, Fran, and Kaki from MATSU so far, and I don't think that we're going to be seeing too much of a switch up. I expect to see more Kaki coming out in the next matches.
Okay, well, Kaki seems to be kind of the big highlight here today. Fran, of course, taking a lot of priority as well, maybe sometimes even over that Lulu. So that is a refreshing change for a lot of us that have been following SWC 2021 so far. Now, the next semifinal, OSSERU will be our first player as he comes out on top. Beats MIRAN 2-1 to make it to the semifinals here.
This is a player that took us through a bit of a surprise, coming out with a completely different strategy from what was mentioned on his player profile. And we know that the Vertical is unviolent, the Daptis is unviolent, OSSERU has some crazy good rune death.
Yeah, OSSERU really throwing everyone for a loop. He talks about how he loves to play defense, how he thinks he's very good at defense, but he came out swinging in his first match. But now his opponent will be KAIBASHIRA TARO here for the semifinals.
KAIBASHIRA TARO, this guy, he's just flexing a lot of these different team comps. He's going for the Molong Feng Yin combo, but he shows that when Feng Yin is not looking good, he's able to recognize that and bring in a different unit like Juno.
Yeah, the Juno, of course, that was the one game where we saw really, really good use of that Juno pick that we had talked about, really filling in that niche role, and the wedge out also being a core part of KAIBASHIRA TARO's monster box. We'll see how that pans out in this one as he goes up against OSSERU in the winner semifinals in Group D of the APAC preliminaries for SWC 2021.
Here we go with the pre-bans. I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Ragdoll pre-ban coming out again against KAIBASHIRA TARO. And from KAIBASHIRA TARO, we see Triana getting pre-banned. That is very interesting.
Okay, the Triana pre-ban, I mean, we've seen its strength, but to pre-ban it means you really just didn't want to deal with it. OSSERU on the left side KAIBASHIRA TARO on the right side. And now the first pick, it is going to be that Mo Long for OSSERU.
We are seeing a potential setup for a cleave when we see Bastet and Draco coming out. We are expecting to see picks like Lucian, like Julie. That is the AoE option available. But if you want to go for the single target, of course, Oberon and Kali with the single target ignore defense is going to be great. Even switching for the Odin now. What a switch up from KAIBASHIRA TARO.
KAIBASHIRA TARO not hesitating at all, comes out swinging full force here in the first game of this winter semifinals. It is a best of 3, so if he can get that 1-0 lead, it is huge. OSSERU, what are your answers?
The rare Tyrannus coming out, or Tyrannus, and the reason why we're seeing a lot of these...
Uh-oh.
Okay, it's coming back. The defensive picks out of OSSERU is because the opponent is looking to kill your whole team, or at least 2 units within a single turn. So Tyrannus there, bringing some of the revive. Vanessa passive there, bringing the revive. And finally, there's the Abelio for the healing. Diana with the shield. So it's really just going to be a match between damage versus survival. Carnal is not exactly the damage we're looking for, but it is going to be a very strong control given OSSERU doesn't have any cleansers / immunity.
So just trying to maybe fill in that small gap that he was missing on the side of KAIBASHIRA TARO. But I mean, OSSERU, you could kind of tell the panic as he was trying to adapt in his last picks. He was still able to secure the Tyrannus and Vanessa. As you mentioned, Peter, he's got some insurance in check, but will it be enough? Waiting for the bans now. The Abelio will be banned, and then the Cardinal being banned out against KAIBASHIRA TARO.
This is where I actually would have liked to see the Okeanos come back, because the reset would have been really good at dealing with Vanessa and Tyrannus, but it doesn't matter because the last pick got banned out anyways. We are now looking for the raw damage coming out of KAIBASHIRA TARO. He's looking for the 1-turn damage output. Here is Bastet now, Oasis Blessing. Look at the buffs. There is the Oberon now, trying to make use of the attack buff. Of course, the skill 3 is going to hurt.
Yeah, huge setup from KAIBASHIRA TARO.
There is the Judgment going for Diana, 57!
Oh
what? The Diana has so much HP, what is going on?
What? The Diana surviving, and then that amount of damage coming up for Oberon. 2 shots on both sides. As Odin able to try to go for that hit and get the proc out of the Tyrannus right away.
The Tyrannus has skill 3. If he uses it now in the beast form, it will not provide the defense buff, which is why he saved it, going back into druid form first. Now Mo Long has the reckless angle onto the Oberon, but if you kill a unit, it gives stacks to Odin. When Odin has 5 stacks, it does ignore defense. So now Diana has to try to interrupt that flow, go for the strip on the attack buff, and try to kill, but we see a safe play instead.
Yeah, goes for the shield, but how much will that matter as we see just trying to bring down that shield a little bit as the Odin sitting on those 5 stacks. As you mentioned, Peter, things are still looking pretty scary for OSSERU.
You have to keep in mind that because OSSERU's Diana was so tanky and it didn't get one-shotted by the Oberon, Vanessa's passive didn't get popped, so that is still available, as well as Tyrannus' skill 3, providing the soul protect now. So if you kill Diana, she's just going to come back.
Okay, so it still has that insurance in check. Will it pay off for OSSERU? The Odin already brought down quite low as well.
There is the Draco, not able to set up much for the Odin, because even if you go for the armor break in skill 2, Odin's going to ignore defense anyways. And now KAIBASHIRA TARO going for Diana, and he gets 4 stacks back.
Okay, so does get that revive out of the way for now. Still has those 4 stacks, but Odin still being chipped down pretty low.
But there's still another revive available on the side of Vanessa, and Odin does go down when he is, or when he revives when he goes down. So Odin still has that 1 more chance, but now he's looking for a clean kill onto somebody, Diana, and now there's Vanessa's passive.
And another revive. So the insurance is now out of the way from OSSERU. KAIBASHIRA TARO trying to do what he can. The Odin returns, as you mentioned, and now OSSERU kind of playing against time, trying to burst things down.
There is Draco trying to buy time, but not enough time is there because now Diana, she's going to be utilizing this window of opportunity, takes out the Odin. At this point, there's only 2 supports left, and what can they do?
Yeah, huge move from OSSERU, just utilizing that insurance, having that Diana survive in that first burst, and now able to do what she needed to finish off Odin. Now we do see the buffs coming out from KAIBASHIRA TARO, but is it enough to really stand by during this game?
I mean, we have Mo Long with the Reckless Assault coming up, so once that connects, that is going to be unit down. Of course, Diana with the PP onto defense break would kill a unit, so there is the concede in OSSERU. What a Diana!
Wow, oh my gosh, the surviving that nuke from Oberon, that really sealed the deal for OSSERU right off the bat, because you lose the Diana there, things would have looked very, very different for this game one.
Right, so I feel like definitely that was the turning point of the match. Because Oberon pretty much got nullified in that turn one, OSSERU was just able to strike back so hard, and I don't think we're going to see this comp again.
Yeah, I mean, KAIBASHIRA TARO, it looks like he wanted to try something to get this quick edge in this best of three. It did not work out, so what do you do now? Do you go back to something a little more stable and tried and true, or do you have more tricks up your sleeve? That is the question now for KAIBASHIRA TARO on the right side, OSSERU on the left side. This time, pre-banning out that wedge out that we know is a core part of KAIBASHIRA's monster box.
So this time around, with wedge up being gone, of course, it is going to be a lot harder to see Feng Yan come out. So I'm sure that KAIBASHIRA TARO will be adapting around that, going for the Sierra first pick instead.
Okay, Sierra first pick. Mo Long still looking to be secured by OSSERU alongside the Lulu and friends.
Of course, the Shihu being hovered. It feels like a very early Shihu, but he goes for it anyways. Once again, going for the one-turn cleave in the Kali. But now, he doesn't have the pre-ban on Triana. So if you are OSSERU, you can go ahead and pick that. You can go ahead and bring Vanessa back, Tyrannus back. I just hope that OSSERU would, or not OSSERU, but KAIBASHIRA would bring in maybe a Rocky, because that is a good way to deal with Triana's passive.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh my god!
Oh, are we going to see an Onmyoji for the first time? I mean, we haven't really seen Onmyojis for so long here in SWC 2021 in the APAC preliminaries. The water Onmyoji being highlighted right now for KAIBASHIRA TARO. He needs to do something different here.
He's going all in potentially with the Jamier, switching it up now to the Oberon. Now you are seeing just a switch up endlessly. And the final lockdown is going to be Leona. So Leona's a pick that brings the late game insurance if KAIBASHIRA TARO takes out Mo Long early on. But to be honest, it doesn't have great synergy with what he's brought up. So I do like the first picks that he hovered a bit more. So he'll have to prove this Leona pick.
Yeah, I mean, going for a little bit of insurance himself, but when you're trying to go all in, you start to hesitate a little bit. Maybe that bites you back. We'll have to see. The Juno being picked up now for OSSERU as the 5th pick after the Triana and Abellio.
So not a lot of emphasis being put on Vanessa Tyrannus this game, but rather Juno trying to turn the game around through the strip on Kali's buffs, which could definitely be a thorn for KAIBASHIRA, but I wouldn't ban... Okay, I was gonna say I wouldn't, but he does. So
okay, so it goes for the ban against the Leona, and then the Juno gets banned out by KAIBASHIRA TARO. OSSERU currently leading 1-0, match point for OSSERU. If he wins this, he moves on to the winners final. KAIBASHIRA TARO trying to tie things up.
Super fast Kali with the God of Fire now has attack buff for everyone. Shiho with the skill 3 alter ego attack. Oh! He needed the strip setup for Sierra Fate of Destruction, because if he doesn't get the strip, that means all his damage is nullified and the whole entire purpose of this team was damaged. But now, with this type of a start, you can't help but wonder that OSSERU... Wow.
Okay.
I was gonna say OSSERU's in trouble, but not in trouble if he can buy time with all things in nature. It provides a buff to the whole entire team as well as debuff for the opponent that has occurred throughout the game so far.
All right, so now really both sides just trying to keep things alive as we're seeing all the protection set up for both sides.
It happens again. Sierra can't do anything.
Yeah, Sierra doesn't really have a window right now. The setup, you need to wait for it once again, and KAIBASHIRA TARO needs to buy some time.
Not able to use the attack buff on Sierra successfully, but Kali's skill 2 is still there, sitting there as the almighty threat against Triana. And now we are going to be seeing the tectonic shift out of Kali. Can it get the kill done onto Triana? Oh.
Not enough. I mean, not even that close either. A lot of damage, but not quite enough at all. The Triana still sitting at a relatively decent amount of health, and still is it going to be able to fight off that bomb as well. So Sierra not having that window either, just goes for the skill 1.
But the problem is, if you cannot use Sierra Bomb on Triana, Lulu heal is going to be huge, and the Mo Long with the huge stun on 2 units is going to be such a huge factor for OSSERU now. Trying to sleep the Sierra, he did not get it, so he finally has an angle of a bomb onto the Triana.
Yeah, it is open right now. The window is there. You gotta get this opportunity if you're KAIBASHIRA TARO looking for the bomb, and it does go on.
Yep, that is very good. If the bomb missed, that would have been way too unfortunate. But now, Triana does go down, and it seems like OSSERU doesn't have much damage as a response out of this lineup. Of course, the Reckless Assault can take out Shihu, but there are still 3 big units you have to worry about. And Shizuka with the skill to can also bring back Shihu for a turn and utilize some of his skills.
Oh, that's true. So we got to keep an eye on that Shizuka right now. Of course, that was one of the crazy picks coming out from KAIBASHIRA TARO here in this game. The buffs return from the Kali.
Right, so the buffs are there. Sierra, once again, cannot use the attack buff whatsoever. Just spamming the skill 1 more often than not this game. But the different part now is that it seems like the Sierra, she was going to be very healthy against all this water, but when the armor breaks come out, it is scary. So you have to consider now, going for the bomb, I was about to say, but he doesn't go for the bomb, so now he's got defense break still applied. So now Molong can do...
Okay, is able to still get by just in time. Didn't cycle it fast enough, but still gets rid of that defense break.
That is going to be the huge skill 3 out of Shizuka, grabbing a bomb onto the Molong, because that was a debuff that existed before, and all of a sudden you had the double bomb setup.
Huge from Sierra. There you go. Just explodes the Molong out of the game. This Shizuka really paying off dividends right now for KAIBASHIRA TARO. And Sierra, she wasn't able to get any bombs in the beginning, but she got the ones that matter. Oh no, the Abelio didn't secure the kill the first time, but gets another turn and is able to secure it.
I love the targeting out of OSSERU there. He absolutely needed to go for the Sierra, but of course, Shizuka with past life spell.
Oh no! The Sierra raised from the dead, not able to land the ball.
Well.
Oh, no.
When Sierra is not given a window of opportunity to perform, and she finally does, but she still doesn't perform anyways, of course that is going to be a big letdown if you are KAIBASHIRA TARO. Now Abelio standing real strong, trying to keep the control down onto Shizuka, but she's got the skill 2 available again. He's thinking about who to bring back.
Yeah, some strong considerations here. Still goes for the Sierra.
A turn away from the bomb. So now Shizuka needs to buy just enough time to bring Sierra back again, but the damage is piling.
This is looking dicey.
Skill 3.
Has her skill 3.
It's gonna buy time.
Oh,
you look at the bombs.
My gosh! Huge onto both monsters right now.
This is crazy. He's got another Sierra setup. He can bring her back again for another shot at Fate of Destruction. This may be the craziest turnaround if it does happen. Of course, you got to bring back the Sierra. Go for it.
It has to be. Yep, it has both skill 2 and 3 ready.
Fate of Destruction looking to connect. Lock and look.
Okay. It's only able to get that one skill on that revive and not able to do anything as we see the monsters topped up.
You know, that's...
well, that was very anticlimactic.
Well, we couldn't get the turnaround, but we do see a clean gameplay out of OSSERU, locking in that 2-0 victory.
Yeah, OSSERU able to take the 2-0, and listen, KAIBASHIRA TARO, I think, felt maybe a little bit of pressure to try to trump OSSERU with these curveballs, but they did not pay off, and OSSERU able to hold his ground as he moves on to the winners finals here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
I loved the attempt personally, Chobra. I love it when players bring these new team comps, and I do think the team comp was good. It's just that when Shihu missed the strip on the first turn, that's where things went south. But this first round between KAIBASHIRA TARO and OSSERU is where we saw the crazy Diana just buying so much time, an absolute turnaround point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, KAIBASHIRA TARO had some cool setups in both Game 1 and Game 2. Of course, we saw it here. The Odin still had another chance, but so many revive insurances here for OSSERU, able to keep himself alive. And here we go in Game 2. We see that the will is still there, the immunity there, so Sierra just didn't get a window early enough.
Right, so to be honest, OSSERU misplayed there with the Bellia, going for the heal when it was unneeded, and that's why Triana went down. He paid the price for that. But in the end, it did not matter because he was able to take out the Sierra and Kali soon enough. And we saw that Shizuka, even if she brings Sierra's bombs back, Sierra can't get another turn to detonate. And that is the story of how OSSERU came out on top, 2-0 victory.
OSSERU winning 2-0. I'm going to be honest, Peter, I was a little excited for the Shizuka. We had some cool opportunities there, but not enough to make things happen. Of course, limited when you're trying to bring back that ally for one skill. So now the winners final stage is set. MATSU versus OSSERU in a best of 5 to see who takes the first spot into the APAC Cup here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
Huge matchup coming up within the finals today. We have already seen so many interesting playstyles, and I just can't wait to see what more can we have.
Yeah, we've seen so many shifts just alone in this one day, and all of them are different from all 3 groups we've had before. I mean, Group D is really just this wild card, just this jack in the box. We don't know what's going to pop out of it.
And that's why we love APAC. The APAC preliminaries is always here to make sure that you guys are not seeing the same old meta. We are making sure to split people into groups, and in each group, we can just see everyone's different read on Summoner's War. This season is all about diversity.
Yeah, we've had a lot of changes so far, but ladies and gentlemen, we still have the winners finals right after this break. It's a best of 5 between 2 players.
This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now. This is war. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'll show you who's boss. The world is now a real-time battlefield. Join the global battlefield. Summoner's War, Lost Centuria. Download now.
One best of 5 to determine who gets the first spot out of Group D in the APAC preliminaries to go to the APAC Cup here for SWC 2021. We have 2 players that have made it through the winner's bracket so far, and the winner gets to move on to the APAC Cup. MATSU is our first player up, the returning player here for SWC.
MATSU has proven so much today in the day 1 of Group D. We have seen a lot of utility in that Mo Long, the Kaki, and the last 2 picks have been very flexible so far. Sometimes the Yunhong and sometimes even the Icarus.
Yeah, we've seen the Icarus, the Yunhong. I mean, the Fran, of course, being a key part of really buffing up the damage that he wants with these bruisers. We even saw the Sweet Key that we saw right there in that last game of his winner semifinal. So MATSU seems well prepared and has a good read so far here in Group D. But on the other side, it's OSSERU, who just fought off a very crazy 2 comps coming out from KAIBASHIRA TARO.
And that was definitely a good way to make use of your tanky Dianas, tanky units overall, to survive the onslaught of damage, which is actually perfect because that seems to be the kryptonite for the Mo Long and Kaki. You want to be surviving that turn 1, so now the question is, OSSERU, can he strike back with that, his unit surviving?
Yeah, I mean, you saw that Diana just surviving the huge nuke from the Oberon, something like 57k or something like that. I mean, just massive tanky unit there. So we'll see. MATSU, he surely saw that as well. Needs to have a good plan here. This is also a best of 5 to determine who takes the first spot going to the APAC Cup here from Group D. As a quick reminder, the new monsters, the Sky Surfer and Robo, not available or not active here during the APAC preliminaries. They will be unlocked during the regional cups.
We see the Sierra and Yunhong pre-bans coming out. Not too much of a surprise. We have seen these pre-bans very commonly when OSSERU and MATSU was playing, with other players.
Yep, the Yunhong, I mean, a very, very clear target ban here against MATSU, who is on the left side, OSSERU on the right side. So OSSERU is aware of that pick, and there's that Diana. And then the Lulu, of course, the Mo Long was first picked by MATSU. Not a big surprise there either.
Stellar win rate on Diana, 54.8%, despite being picked so many times, showing why she has been one of the most scary units in terms of wind bruisers. And of course now MATSU, if you see that early Diana, we talked before about how you feel disrespected and you just want to bring a lot of fire, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kaki lock in.
Yep, there's the Kaki. I mean, he's also just used to picking that Kaki. Now it works out against that Diana. You got your trusty Fran as well. Of course, earlier we saw Seru picking up that Lulu alongside the Diana for that sustain, and now hovering over the Abellio here.
Abellio is always going to be useful against Mo Long. We saw him hovering over the Shren, which would be a very crazy unit to see out of nowhere.
Okay, so OSSERU now changing things up as well. I mean, Group D is continuing to deliver here. does secure the Abelio as well. That was locked in.
So Shren is just like Kali in the sense that she's got Tectonic Shift, which ignores defense. And defense is a stat that Kaki tends to utilize fairly often. So what OSSERU is planning right now is he wants to snipe the Kaki, but how can you snipe the Kaki when there's 2 Onimushas now?
Oh my goodness, we've got the wind Onimusha as well, and then the Triana as well. So Matsu answers right back and has some extra insurance on his side to combat what OSSERU is bringing. OSSERU still 1 pick left to try to round out his choices.
Of course, now coming out with the Fuki and Triana does mean that you want to be seeing some fire coming out of OSSERU. Juno brings some value against Fran. Other than that, her sole role within this game will be to carry against the just a surplus of wind on the side of Matsu.
Yep, just going for that attribute advantage. And then the Diana gets banned out, doesn't want to deal with that one on the side of OSSERU. And the Mo Long banned out by OSSERU against Matsu as well. This is game 1 in a best of 5. The winners finals in Group D between OSSERU and Matsu.
This is where things get scary now for OSSERU because there's Triana on the side of Matsu, so Shren is no longer able to do what she was looking to do in the draft. The strips coming out with the stuns look good, but she missed on 2 targets as well. Arguably the most important ones because they have the attack buff.
Yeah, the Onimushas with the attack buff still have free reign right now. You already saw that big chunk against the Juno and goes for more against the Juno right now.
Of course, the Abelio is going to cut in when Juno drops below the threshold of HP. So now there is the heal being topped off, and now we're looking at Fuki for some crazy damage. But of course, Shren is going to be ruined on very tanky stats, and there's the ignore defense. Now we see OSSERU playing very smart, trying to set up the multi-hit to kill Kaki through Triana.
Yep, the setup is there, just trying to bring him low as possible.
And now Triana cuts in with the heal, but it seems like Kaki is still relatively low, looking very scary, especially once Juno starts piling more damage with Shren.
Yep, there's more damage onto the Kaki. The Shren also bringing down the Kaki very low, but the heal now available from the Fran.
The heal definitely coming in clutch for Matsu, buying him the time he needs. And because Fran procs, he's got skill 2 again. Crazy damage from Kaki once he lands the armor break.
Yeah, this Shren not looking very good. And then another turn secured by the Triana that will finish off the kill against the Shren. Now 4 monsters to 3 advantage for Matsu.
Now at this point, Juno is going to really struggle with taking out Kaki because Triana is going to have the passive buff already, and Fran, because she procced earlier, she's got skill 2 available, and it's going to heal the Kaki for such huge amounts.
Oh, that is massive. The Kaki already right back up to 80 and now up to 90% of health. So Kaki looking very, very healthy, and things are starting to look a little dicey for OSSERU.
Abelio definitely got a huge proc there, buying time, keeping himself alive. But now the question is, Juno's getting stronger as the timer goes on, but so are the Onimushas.
Yeah, the Onimushas, I mean, there's 2 of them you have to deal with right now. Juno doing a lot of damage, but it's not looking like it's going to be enough. Another heal, and of course the buffs coming out across the board from the Fran here for Matsu.
Blade Slaughter into another chop, and that is Juno down.
And that should be the game right there. I mean, you're not seeing any damage coming out of OSSERU right now. Maybe he's going to see if he can try to sustain through some of this, but with 2 Onimushas on the board, I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Definitely not enough, Chobra. I really don't like the Abelio picks coming out today. That is going to do a lot of damage, but really, this game is already over. I feel like the Abelio was there to counter Mo Long, but the Mo Long wasn't even there, so Matsu takes the win.
Takes that win in game 1, and he's now leading 1-0 in this best of 5. And Peter, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this kind of draft back and forth, but sometimes we're seeing these players maybe double down a little too much on what they want to take out of the game, what they want to counter, and then they kind of leave themselves with an empty hand, and the Abelio not providing any value in that game 1 for OSSERU.
Right, so that's where the anti-synergy was. Juno and Abelio coming out. So all of a sudden, because Juno was there, the Mo Long was looking a little bit scary. But once you ban Mo Long, your Abelio loses his purpose.
Yeah, and there you just have another monster, right? It's just another body on the board. So we'll see if OSSERU can correctly identify that and see how he can play maybe a bit more patiently around this draft. Maybe reacting a bit too much turn by turn as you're going through these picks. We're waiting for the pre-bans right now. Previously, we had Sierra and Yunhong being pre-banned out. We'll see what's available this time around. And of course, as a reminder, Sky Surfer and Robo not active just yet here in the preliminaries. It's going to be Molong and then Fran being pre-banned out.
Definitely, Matsu is putting so much respect on Molong. The second he gets a match where he cannot first pick Molong, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to pre-ban it because I really don't want my opponent to take it.
Yeah, I mean, Molong has been proving quite valuable today here in Group D, and just in general, always at least has that reliable assault, a reckless assault rather, the nuke coming out. Sierra was the first pick for OSSERU, of course available this time in Game 2, and then the Cardinal Lulu sturdy combo for Matsu.
Cardinal Lulu, we are no strangers to that combo. And of course now OSSERU looking to pile some more damage with the Kaki. And we see Escher returning. And Escher's a unit that is basically a battery for the first turn, grabbing the attack bar boost for the whole team.
So Escher secured for OSSERU alongside that Kaki. See how Matsu responds here. Of course, you always have to consider that Sierra as well. It was pre-banned in Game 1. Already secured. The Yunhong, no big surprise, always waits, but still able to pick it up. And then the Masha coming out here for Matsu.
Definitely, Masha is a unit that we haven't seen too much of. When we do see the Masha, it is usually paired with the Ragdoll because they have a fantastic synergy within their passives. But Matsu, he does not have Ragdoll, so he is relying on the Masha as pure damage output, as we see now the Chungpung and Chi-Woo follow-up.
Okay, Chongpeng and Chi-Woo, that's the first time we're seeing them today here in Group D. We have seen them frequently in the other groups of the APAC preliminaries so far. One pick remaining for Matsu. How does he respond?
Oh, how he responds is definitely a very strong one. Rika into a field of no immunity, no cleanse whatsoever, but we see that OSSERU is not feeling scared of the Rika. You can't help but wonder, will he try to one-shot Rika with the Sierra Bomb and Kaki? But another thing to consider is that Matsu has the Yunhong resistance leader.
Oh man, that's a lot to really look out for. I mean, if I've learned one thing, Peter, the Rika is very scary, so I hope that OSSERU is able to answer back and take that monster out right away.
And there's so much healing, right? We see Lulu, you know that if you can't take out a unit in the first turn, Lulu strikes back. We see the priority coming out onto the Yunhong, taking her out first.
Okay, yeah, gets the bomb and the pop as well, and the Yunhong is deleted. Now only 3 monsters left, but still quite a bit of scariness here on the side of Matsu.
Huge damage from the Masha, and she absorbed the attack bar, so she is looking to move ahead of Sierra and Chi-Woo, but the Escher is going to cut in, and now, if you let a Rika through, you get the Fire Guardian Angel.
Look at all the dots across the board right now, and then the slow as well to try to counteract some of that speed buff on the side of OSSERU.
The sleep from the Chi-Woo was good, but it's not very good because Lulu is there to cleanse it off right away. And you can't forget that this Rika is basically still left uncontested.
Yeah, she's free to do what she wants.
But she doesn't do anything just yet. So Matsu now trying to cycle into another Fire Guardian Angel. Sierra with the Fate of Destruction is going to miss, which really hurts because that could be the last move out of Sierra before she potentially goes down.
Yeah, this is starting to look a little scary for us. Sarah wasn't able to secure that bomb.
Oh, no sleep. So
does
Sierra
get another chance.
Goes for another chance. She landed the bomb, so it is going to do a lot of damage to Masha, and now he's going to be able to dismount it with the skill 1. So Sierra did a little more than we thought, but the problem is Masha. She's going to be having the immunity now, and the follow-up from Matsu is scary.
Yeah, the Masha should be able to get another turn here with that immunity, not able to...
Oh my god!
Okay, wait! There's
Sierra.
a bomb off to the Rika now.
Going crazy right now, getting a lot of damage onto Masha despite being win. OSSERU is looking for the turnaround. Now keep in mind that Rika does have skill 3 Fire Guardian Angel available, but Sierra is looking to take another turn, hopefully before Lulu can cleanse anything.
Oh, and this is looking suddenly very good for OSSERU. Has the setups. There is that cleanse though, so the bomb does get taken off. This time a bomb onto Lulu, and there is the skill 3.
It's Rika versus the world right now. She's got to perform with the Fire Guardian Angel going for the dots. Of course, there is Escher there for sustain. Now sitting a turn away, or 2 turns away from the heal, and that huge proc!
The Lulu able to survive, was brought down so low, but as you mentioned to Peter, huge proc into a heal and able to stay alive just a bit longer. And there's the stuns coming out for the Rika as well. Rika might just be able to do it.
Rika finally making up now with Toy 9, getting the stuns that you want to see. And when Sierra goes down, you know that is now time for Rika's showcase.
Yeah, Rika has free reign once again, finally getting all the debuffs you wanted at the right time, right place in this game 2 of this best of 5.
The skill name is Massacre, but the result is not for OSSERU, because he is now about to get massacred by the true Massacre, and the dots are there.
They're back once again, and Chiwu doesn't have much time left to survive in this game. A little bit of sustain just to stay alive coming out from the Escher, but it's not enough compared to what this Rika can do. And another stun this time onto the Chew.
I mean, we are seeing a lot of back and forth. OSSERU's hanging in a lot better than we would have expected, but when we see Lulu constantly healing up whatever the Escher does, it is very devastating to watch. And Rika doesn't even need to cycle. She's got skill 3 available next turn.
Yeah, and there's the Massacre again, and you know, it does some damage, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be enough. And there you go, there's the burst and the dots on top. That spells death for Escher, and MATSU takes another win, leading 2-0 in the winners finals in this best of 5 in Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
Matsu, he is definitely not letting us down with all the expectations he had. Coming in clean with these games, the Rika lost pick proved to be too much for OSSERU to deal with. And now you can't help but wonder, OSSERU, you have to find the kryptonite to Matsu. You cannot go down 3-0.
Yeah, this OSSERU's digging really into his pockets to see what he can pull out. But right now, nothing has worked. Game 1, you had the Shren, you had the ability not working out. And now in Game 2, you had the Escher and still not able to make it work. MATSU just seems so well prepared. The Yunhung does get pre-manned once again alongside the Sierra. We are now in Game 3. Match point for MATSU here in the winners finals of Group D in the APAC preliminaries. Winner moves on to the APAC Cup.
And the loser moves on to tomorrow in the losers matchup. So don't forget that every player you've seen today will be returning. Once again, we are seeing a early Diana.
Okay, the early Diana again alongside the Lulu. I mean, listen, we've seen the power of a Sarah's Diana, but this early pick, you talked about it before, Peter, it just opens you up to so many counter picks.
Fran cocky. That's what Matsu's gonna do.
Of course. I mean, it's almost a go-to no matter what, but especially with the Diana there, Matsu, not much hesitation at all. Matsu probably wondering, I mean, I'm already up 2-0. I don't really have to take any risk in this draft. I can still try to replay Game 1 and see how the result differs.
Vanessa coming out with the Daphnis, a definite switch up in strategy now for OSSERU. Daphnis has a lot of value he can grab. He can strip Fran skill 3, go into a defense break, get a big nuke, but that's speaking in ideal terms. So now Matsu needs to try to disrupt that combo.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of eggs in one basket here for OSSERU, it sounds like. And now we're looking at a potential Barbara for
Oh my
Matsu.
god! Eladriel for the first time. Now this is what I've seen last year out of Group D, and Matsu is bringing it back. Eladriel is there as the counter to Daphnis, making sure that even if a unit gets taken out, he can just revive it right back, which is why Matsu smartly bans out Diana. It seems like the only carry on the side of OSSERU will be mainly Daphnis and Tyrannus. The question is, does he have what it takes against Barbara Eladriel?
Yeah, that's a lot to battle through. OSSERU, he needs to make this happen. He is down 0-2. Match point for Matsu. If Matsu wins this, he moves on to the APAC Cup right away.
Very fast Barbara, giving that attack bar. The setup for Mo Long. Reckless Assault for 22,000. And of course, the Fran with the follow-up is going to get the kill. Now Tyrannus has to bring back the
Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah, the Vanessa, of course, having been taken out, so the Tyrannus has to bring her back and then try to have that passive available for someone else. So there you go, there is the revive.
The revive onto the Vanessa. And of course now Tyrannus with the defense buff is looking real scary with the skill 2. And he saves it instead because he wants to be going for the killing angle. But the problem is, even if you do, there's an Eladriel.
Oh man, there's so many layers that you have to consider for OSSERU right now, and none of them really seem that ideal.
It seems like OSSERU's just not even trying, you know, the Daphnis skill 3 is the main spotlight of OSSERU's team comp, but the second Eladriel came out, it feels like OSSERU just doesn't know how to work around it anymore.
Yeah, OSSERU really seems like he's buying time to figure out how to play through this composition, but he's not really finding the right answers, the right windows, the right opportunities right now, and now the damage continues to pile up against this Vanessa once again.
You know, Chobra, I've never seen such a strong counter pick before. Just one unit in there, and it completely shuts out the purpose of OSSERU's team comp, which is the Eladriel with the full team revive whenever he pleases. Now, the Barbara with the damage takes out Vanessa.
Vanessa down once again, so that passive not available. The Hellfire does come out against the Fran, and that will be the death. But of course, the Eladriel's still there, so we'll see. MATSU, what is his choice?
He can revive. He can heal. He's got so many options. And look at that. Fran back at full HP. Molong looking for the Dragon Stance. Doesn't get much control done. But the Daphnis trying to get some work done.
Okay, a little bit more damage across the board. I do like that the Fran's returns now for MATSU. Of course, Fran able to add more sustain as well. So just going for a bit more of this play, trying to go for that buff, I'm sure, as well, to try to finish off this game number 3. MATSU sitting at match point right now.
This is where things get scary after Barbara gets dismounted, because now you have the Fairy's Blessing, the attack buff, and you get the extra attack power from the Barbara getting dismounted. The skill 1 may one-shot.
Oh, very, very close. Very, very close. And the Daphnis does go down to the Molong. And right now, I mean, OSSERU surely just waiting to try to see if he can bring someone back. Oh, he does get that chance. No, he's going to go for the finish off against the Barbara first.
We are seeing so much revivers on both sides. Tyrannus looking to bring back potentially the Daphnis, where Eladriel looking to get skill 3 off. He is sitting 3 turns away.
Yeah, we're just waiting here for OSSERU, trying to decide what his choice will be.
Daphnis is a great way to get some advantage back because he's got Hellfire, and Vanessa is more like the safer option, but I don't really like the safer one.
Yeah, it doesn't look that safe anymore, which just goes down right away, Peter, and this is not looking like it's worked out. Tyrannus already gets proc of his passive as well, so OSSERU really sitting at the edge of the cliff right here.
And then Eladriel is sitting there as the final boss, looking at him like, hey, how are you gonna kill me? You know that even if you kill my friend, even if you kill Molong, I can bring them back with a single skill.
Yeah, I mean, Eladriel's just waiting, right? Eladriel's just waiting for the game to get to a point where he needs to take action once again. Just sitting there calm and collected, and the Tyrannus goes down as well, and poor OSSERU doesn't have an answer, and that is a 3-0 sweep for MATSU as he moves on to the APAC Cup from Group D of the APAC preliminaries.
MATSU, such a strong showing. The first time we see that 3-0 finish off in a best of 5. You know, you really got to give credit to MATSU for being able to adapt to every single match. That Eladriel was just such a good pick.
Yeah, I like you called it, Peter. One pick completely breaks apart OSSERU, not to the point of just his monsters not being as valuable, but he seemed so lost for the first half of that game, not able to react to what MATSU brought to the table.
And what a way to pretty much show all these rookies coming into the SWC that I am MATSU. This is why I'm a veteran. You guys have to fight amongst each other tomorrow, as first we get a look into the replay.
Yeah, of course, a 3-0 sweep for MATSU. It kicked off right in Game 1.
The Game 1 was all about Onimusha's, and we mentioned that the second Molong got banned out, Abellio was too useless, too passive, and that's what MATSU was able to abuse.
Yeah, MATSU able to take advantage of that, really outplaying perhaps in the drafts as well, as he takes advantage. In Game 2, it was the Rika show, of course.
Right, so in Game 2, we mentioned that we would like to see a potential Rika getting targeted in the first turn and getting sniped, but OSSERU was not too confident in that, and he definitely bit the bullet for that one.
Yeah, went for the Yeonhong, and while he did finish the job of the Yeonhong, the Rika was able to stay alive all the way to the end, and now we move on to Game 3.
Game 3 was like watching a broken machine. It's like one of those moments where you're at the vending machine, you put the coin in, but the drink doesn't come out. That is story of OSSERU in this match here. Just so much devastating power coming out of MATSU.
I don't think I've ever heard a more apt analogy. I mean, that's such a frustrating moment when you go to a vending machine and it just doesn't give you what you want, and OSSERU's sitting there the same way, right? He has his monster, he's like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, they're not going to do anything, and he's not able to respond. Well, MATSU able to win 3-0, and you called it, Peter. He's the one veteran that returns in Group D for SWC, and he proves it once again. He moves on to the APAC Cup in that first spot from Group D, but of course, the other 7 players still have another chance tomorrow in the losers bracket.
So I am definitely looking forward to seeing a rematch between these players in the day 2 of Group D, because we've already seen so many different strategies, especially revolving around Mo Long, and you just can't help but wonder that tomorrow these players are going to be more ready to confront the Mo Long.
Yeah, you have to really review what happened today and see what the options are. Of course, OSSERU, having gone to the winners finals, will wait in that losers finals best of 5, so OSSERU just has to wait for that one final match for another chance, but the other players will have to run it through the bracket to see if they can take that second spot to the APAC Cup. And Group D, explosive is how I would summarize it so far here in the APAC preliminaries.
Definitely explosive, and we got to see some of the reason why the Vanessa and Triana was coming out more often in Group D than not. It seems like many players in Group D know each other. They know that all these players are bringing in crazy damage. That's why we've even seen a adaptation from MATSU, Eladriel, another very good unit at countering the damage.
Yeah, we saw so many revives today, right? I mean, even just in that game, but throughout the day, and you mentioned it, that seems to be the meta here among these players in Group D, and we'll see if that changes tomorrow, right? Do you change things up a little bit? If everyone's trying to come in with these nukes, how else do you respond?
I have a plan. So this is about bringing back Okeanos, unfortunately, because you need his reset. That's how you deal with the revives. That's how you deal with Triana's passive. And on top of that, I want to see some Rocky.
Okay, well, for all of you at home, of course, we also have a code. So it's SWC2021 Tanoshimi. Tanoshimi kind of meaning I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. So I can't wait for SWC. I can't wait for day 2 here in Group D of the APAC preliminaries, which I would say is true, especially after what you mentioned. Do we see the return of Okeanos, of Ganymede? Do we see these combos, the tried and true combos returning? Or are we going to just stick with nukes and see who's able to get more damage done?
We have to see it back, Trevor. I'm sorry. Not every single match, but at least in that match, especially where OSSERU was playing against MATSU, had he had a form of reset, he could have made the Eladriel a lot more useless. So it's like we're getting to see why we saw so much of something we didn't like. It's like there's a reason for it. They're just so good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this there's a cycle, right, in this rock, paper, scissors cycle in any type of game, but especially here in Summoner's War, you see the meta start to shift, and then it starts to repeat itself a little bit. Well, we'll see how things change in day 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow with the losers bracket of Group D in the APAC preliminaries for SWC 2021. Don't miss it. It's the last day of the APAC preliminaries.